Hey guys, I'm Jordy, and what you're about to see is a discussion I had with a few of our officers and guild members in Fusion who know a lot about loot and where it might be best used in Sunwell Plateau. I want to reiterate, this is not a BIS list or that we're even telling you directly where stuff is best used. Always consider the player before the class in every decision. In the description below, I've linked our spreadsheet that has the priors laid out by class colors with notes, as well as realistic BIS lists in the tabs further to the right. This took a lot of time to make, so if you end up using it, please consider supporting us in some way. All right, that's it. Enjoy the discussion. All right, so hi everybody, I'm Jordy. This is a lot of the Fusion officers and Diri. We are...
And Dtain.
And Dtain. We all have a pretty good understanding of loot in Sunwell and Phase 5, and we made these sheets to... Oh, we gotta delete... I gotta close this text thing. We made a sheet to kind of go over where loot should go and what prios should be, because... Start over? I'm not gonna start over. I can make a new one later. So here's where we at with the sheet. This sheet will change over time. There are things that are not perfect. I want to emphasize that very much because things will change as we get closer to the phase release. Yeah.
From a physical standpoint, I would say, I'm sorry to cut you
please.
off. It's more of a sheet of what not to do. And I think that's what the discussion is going to be around. And not so much what to do with your loot, but some ideas of what not to do. And, for various reasons on the physical stuff, whether it's like armor pen cap, hit caps, or, availability of items. That's kind of how I looked at it, is what not to do.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for pure BIS list, this is not the place. This is the place to go to know what you can expect and what items are good for what classes, and the links will be posted in the YouTube video that we're going to post in the morning. All right, so we're going to go through all of the loot together. We're going to go boss by boss, and we can look at the sheet to discuss. But let's start with Pantaloons of Calming Strife, which is what drops off of Kalecgos, the first boss. Kalecgos drops a lot of pants, and all of these pants can be exchanged for an alternative using a sun mote, which drop off trash and bosses in Sunwell Plateau. They're not BOP, the sun motes, but you need to use them as a currency to swap. So this loot table looks like it's huge, but it's actually only as big as Mother's loot table, because each of these pairs of pants is one item. This is one item, this is one item. Starstalker is a specific, and then these plate legs are one item. So that's 4, and there's 3 more, so it's 7 items. Yeah, Jugs is linking a good somewhat cheat sheet. In my Moodle, thank you, man. In my form, there's also like X's next to each of these that have a swap, so you can know which item this swaps with. So Pantaloons of Calming Strife is what drops off of Kalecgos. We aren't really going to prio healers a lot of gear early, so we're going to go mage on this one. I know this is mage BIS pants, right?
You can't really talk about these pants without also talking about Calamity. As far as I'm aware, well, I should make a caveat. I don't know shit about support casters.
So
it's the same as last time and the same as this time.
Can kind of help with this one too, with you, Derek, if you need it.
I mean, it's just, as far as I know, Calamity is BIS for everyone. So ultimately, Prio on this comes down to who has alternatives that are reasonable, and this is a very reasonable alternative to mages that will bring you, half or 2/3 of the way to Calamity. From like T6 legs or whatever you were previously using, and that is extremely low competition, right? There's maybe 3 people, or probably like 2 people in your raid who want this besides the mages, as opposed to Calamity where like 8 people in the raid want it. So it just makes sense to give this to mages, unless you have like a true absolute pumper mage who is by far your best caster. Maybe you want to give them Calamity, but by default, it's like this is a very reasonable upgrade that is much less contested. So
yeah, kind of like what Dury said. The deltas are very close. Allows us to what we need.
You're lagging,
Mage.
Vandarr.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I said it's like he said. The delta is very close for mage. It's more of a ideal bis, and it also duration fights as well. Speaking of moving towards Calamity, and the reason of that being compared to Calamity is Calamity is also like a Warlock Wrath of Lich King previous.
Scarab Ward.
Item that you'll actually use at level 8.
We got a good
Actually, we can go
Sure,
on
when you
to-
get a chance, restart your Discord. I think there's some issues with going on with it.
I get you.
I think that you're going to see that a lot in this sheet, that you might be proud for something that isn't your bis, but it's because that we're trying to spread out loot as evenly as possible, and it makes sense to go here for an item that may not be true bis, but the alternative is you're fighting with 8 people. So like, where do you put these legs, right? Okay, well, let's just move on.
Also, it's just funny as a mage that you have like 6 pieces of healer bis loot, which is just, you know, good comedy for you and your healers.
Yeah, it's great. I gotta mute Twitch announcements. Sure. The second people that should go to is Shadow Priests, and then Holy Priest. It's good. For Holy Priest, it's fine. Whatever. We have Leggings of Eternity. Those are pretty good. We have the Haste Legs. Those are pretty good. These have a lot of crit, which is nice. There is an argument to be made to use the Pantaloons of Growing Strife over the Healing Legs for priests. If you really value hit or haste, that's the way to go, but I don't think it's worth it. All right. Moving on to Breaches of Natural Aggression and Breaches of Natural Splendor. These are Boomkin. There's some Boomkins are going to run 4 and 4, right? They're going to use 4-piece tier 5 and 4-piece tier 6. But let's see, where is it?
They work towards ideal bis. That's what they're going to be running. Then about 75 to from jumping from that set using their old T5.
Yeah.
T6 with their off piece as they progressively towards ideal bis.
I think we're gonna send these to druids first, resto druids. There's only one boomkin in the raid, if that, and we're trying to gear healers when we can and when it makes sense. And this is probably resto druid first. You're gonna be sad when you see these drop after 1 or 2. So yeah. Next is, remember these swap, these natural aggression, natural splendor, so it's kind of the same item. Next is Starstalker leg guards. Very interesting item. If you get this, you probably won't get Leggings of Immortal Knight right away. It's good.
Yeah, so for specifically hunters hitting a hit cap, I'd say that's where you'd put these. I don't think enhancements may have some interest in them, but I think they're gonna be gunning for Leggings of Immortal Knight more so than not more so than hunters, but this kind of makes up for the lack of hit. Hunters have some few swaps they can do outside of this, that maybe 3 hunters in your raid, 4 hunters, I don't know what some guilds run, they all aren't getting Lin, so someone has to take one for the team and look at taking Starstalker legs.
And a lot of them will elect to use their
You're lagging, JVJ.
JVJ, Discord's fucked tonight.
Yeah.
I will say this, it's not, the BIS lists that get put out, they get put out with sims of improved IEA, 100% uptime. So you'll see, like, some people think, well, the delta between Lin and Starstalker is pretty small when you have all the buffs and you have 100% uptime on IEA and you're ARP capped. But the true delta there, that only applies to 2 fights. In my extensive knowledge of doing a lot of Sunwell PTR, IEA is not up a lot, and you're only on 6,200 bosses where IEA is up like 2 fights. So you're looking at Twins and Kil'Jaeden, where that BIS list or the 6,200 6% BIS list gets put out. That's where that applies. I don't think it's not a never give Leggings of Immortal Knight to hunters, but this is a decent alternative.
For our Horde friends listening out there, Handz, how would you feel with Horde missing a 1% hit ratio? Is that more ideal piece for a hunter in a Horde?
No, it's so basically the Horde, so Horde and non-Draenei hunters, all the people that didn't go goat, they're gonna run hit gems. It's pretty much inevitable. If you get close to full BIS or close to full Sunwell gear, you're gonna need hit gems as a hunter. And there's some sets where you might get away with it, but as you get down that list of completing every item slot, you run hit gems. And Draenei just has, if you have Leggings or Mortal Knight as a Draenei, you need 0 hit gems. But as a non-Draenei or non-Draenei in your group, you'll need some hit gems.
Lightbrand, we are using our Discord. We're in an invisible channel. I think that these legs, you're gonna feel bad when you get them, but you shouldn't, because it means that you should be getting prio on some big stuff elsewhere. I would probably go survival first on this, then BM, then enhance.
Yeah, there's a great case for survival. I mean, there's more agility, and there's less hits, so survival has the hit talents. They scale better off agility with their agility talents. Leggings of Mortal Knight's still huge for survival. I don't want to take it away from them. But, survival's used to taking one for the team. So maybe they won't mind here.
It's really going to be, a lot of people are going to have a visceral reaction to the idea of taking these and not Leggings of Immortal Knight, but you have to remember there are like 9 or 10 people in the raid who want Leggings of Immortal Knight, and 9 or 10 are not going to drop. So in order to evenly distribute this loot, you need to figure out where stuff goes and how to fill the gaps, and this is one of those items that's going to fill a gap that you're not going to have for Leggings of Immortal Knight. So yeah. It's good. I mean, it's better than tier 6. So yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Leg plates of the Holy Juggernaut and Judicator leg guards. I think we're just trying to emphasize our prop pallies. The prop pally gearing in this phase is insane. Some beef is really nice, so we're just going to give these to the prop pally first, and then the Holy Pally, and that's it. It'll be easy. You only want 2 of these, and then you're sad. I'm gonna post this in the morning. I'm gonna do a little text thing. Well, I'm not going to. Whatever. All right. Next is Band of Lucent Beams. This is not BIS for anybody, but it's a really good catch-up item. If it drops, give it to anybody that doesn't have double Caribor or
well, you only need 1 Caribor, because I'd use a crafted ring over this.
Sure, but the crafted ring might not drop right away, the recipe. So if this drops week 1, just give it to someone that doesn't have double crafted. It's still a good item. Are you factoring any of the items you swap in for Prio? I think so, DGen. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but Band of Lucent Beams, it's not a very exciting item. There's just better. Blessed Band of Caribor is better than this, so yeah, this is really good for like an Ellie Shaman who's going resto for a couple weeks, right? Or a Boomkin who's going resto for a couple weeks, stuff like that. Fang of Kalecgos. What do you think, Handz?
Did anyone use this? Is this a hunter weapon?
It's pretty bad. You probably wouldn't, be super happy if you saw one.
So it's like all the daggers, like nobody wants it.
No, there's great daggers in here. That's just not one of them.
I know. I'm just saying this is like a very common piece, right? The dagger that nobody cares about.
This is Shard of Azeroth, right?
Yeah. Fuck daggers. Move on.
Yeah, it's not. If someone needs a weapon, if they didn't farm out double mojos or something, then. Or maybe they're super armor pen capped and they're getting 0 value out of armor pen. They might be like, oh yeah, Fang is. I don't know. I doubt that scenario pops up, but it's probably gonna turn into a large prismatic.
You're gonna see this every week, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
To turn to 2 large prismatic.
Dragon Scale Encrusted Longblade. This is actually a really great item. We're going Prot Warrior Prio. I know that a lot of you don't have Prot Warriors, but this is a really, really good Prot Warrior weapon. After that, it is a great offhand for your Fury Warriors, or Anybody who wants a sword, you know.
I don't think
Even as the Prower, I wouldn't say it doesn't needs to be Prio that way. Like it's going to depend on who's in the raid, right? So if you got people that have glaive offhands, like they're not going to take it. Obviously the game's going to be better, but it's still a solid upgrade for weapon wise, and if they can get them close to expertise cap, it's probably more valuable in the hand of a DPS than the Prower.
Well, the weird thing is it's it's kind of like THC where the expertise on it might get wasted a little bit, not giving it to a human depending on how much expertise they have, right?
I think that one's very like individual raid dependent on who's there and who needs what upgrade. So yeah.
Yep.
So just to keep in mind, do not shard this item too. This is good to give out to your paladins that are going to be in your dungeon leveling groups when Wrath Patch comes out, because going from a spell power weapon to that kind of a weapon is going to be a massive increase for them. I know that's down the line, but don't let it rot and just turn into a shard.
Looks pretty cool too.
It looks
It looks cool.
Get toothpick.
Okay, so regarding tier, it's BIS for literally everybody. Some it's more BIS for than others, but we're going to recommend that you pair tier with another item when someone gets an upgrade, right? So if they would lose a 4-piece. Yeah, if you needed a 4-piece, so like if you got Fel Fury leg plates, or that's a bad example, Leggings of Calamity, as a warlock, you're gonna want another piece of tier to get back to your 4-piece, right? And so as loot drops, you're gonna make decisions based off of that, and then everyone's gonna go, hold on, that person got 2 things in 1 week and I got nothing, what the fuck? And you're gonna have to explain to them the reason that we're doing it is because they need their 4-piece maintained. So even though they got this, they're gonna get this too, and then don't worry, you'll get the next thing and blah blah blah. So
basically no point in loot.
You're lagging more, Vandarr. So yeah.
Except there are a couple exceptions to that, because for instance, mages don't give a shit about their 4-piece. So you can give mages tier whenever you want to.
I think there's another piece that Ega missed out. If that scenario doesn't go up, you should go prio people that don't care about their 4-piece over someone who does.
Yeah.
So essentially, like, there's a like 3 or 4 items are going to drop that might fall in that category, and then you look at the mage and be like, okay, none of those fell in that category. You don't care about your 4-piece, so we're going to prior you there. It's what we're thinking. I don't know if it is what we finalize as, but it's been a few of us have said, yeah, that kind of sounds good. But we don't.
Even in that case, though, if you get another piece, you can always move around your 4-piece, right? Like you have 5 options even without tier here.
No, for sure. But doesn't it feel bad when it's like, my legs my tier 5 legs were dog ass, and I got to upgrade now. I got to put on tier 5 legs, right?
Yeah, sometimes.
You know what I mean? Like it just, and it's 8 weeks, right? So you can't.
There's also something to keep in mind is like you're gonna get. In a full clear, you're going to get 10 pieces of tier, and you're not going to get 10 pieces of gear that's going to bump someone out of 4-piece. So you're going to have to make a decision where stuff goes outside of this rule, and we can't tell you the best way to do it other than giving it to someone who isn't going to get, who doesn't care about losing set bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the important thing is you want people to put, especially in early weeks and especially in raids that might, have struggled with some of these, but really in all raids, because I think all raids are going to struggle to some extent. You want to give it to people who can put it on for next week, right?
Yeah.
You want every single piece of gear you give out to make next week's gear. So you just have to think about it. It's not really something you can have rules for. You just have to think about it and ask people, like, honestly, is this an upgrade for you right now? Or do you have to wait for this or that or whatever?
It's also a good way to like help someone get something when they haven't gotten something in a while, right? Because these are actually like insane items. Like the hunter stuff is insane, the priest stuff is insane. It's insane across the board. So if something doesn't drop for someone for a while, throw them a piece of tier. We're all gonna need it eventually. So
I do think the other interesting exceptions also are your tanks, right? Because there's always, especially with how Sunwell is looking, there's going to be a lot of value in gearing out your tanks early, and tier can be a good way to do that. So it may also be a consideration, even if, giving this to a DPS is a good upgrade, right? These are always going to be upgrades for all of your tanks, no matter what. So
I agree. I think you just flood that prop alley as fast as you can, get them as beefy as possible as soon as you can, because it makes everything easier.
Yeah, the one thing, Dtain, that I would say argue against that is like there's not a whole lot of stuff that prop alley is tanking like they are in BT.
They kind of fall off. In a way.
they're still really important, but I don't think necessarily Giga Beef Prop Pally week 2 is going to make a difference versus the Bears, right? Who are main tanking most things, and that's just something to keep in mind.
You get a lot of nice badge gear too that comes out with this. Well, that helps fill some gaps of what they already have.
Sure. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna move on, but that's Kalecgos. We don't want to get more into the minutia of tier if we can help it, so we might gloss over it moving forward. But the idea again is to pair stuff and use it as a filler, and then maybe give it to your tanks. Your healers also, your DPS. I mean, I don't know. There's so many small decisions that need to be made with regards to tier that we can't really help you. Other than telling you the philosophy behind it. All right, on to Brutallus. Brutallus is going to be the first boss that you probably wipe to for a while. Kalecgos, you might, but Brutallus takes some learning. It's very sensitive. Yeah. Leggings of Calamity.
So, obviously, Warlock Gigabyss here and Wrath of King Prebiss. Probably.
You're lagging a lot.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's great for Warlocks. It's also good for all your other casters, but it's probably something you give to Warlocks because most of your other casters have alternatives that are also decent upgrades, and Warlocks don't really have that as much, I think is what Vandarr would say.
Yeah, it's a very exciting item. It's a huge upgrade for them. And it's off the second boss, so that's exciting. You will give these to your mages eventually if you get enough to drop. You only need 1, 2, 3, well, maybe 1, 2, 3 for a boomkin, and then you're giving them to your mages. You can maybe give it to the mages before the boomkin, depending on what has dropped, but it's good. It's really good. Anything else on Leggings of Calamity, Vandarr?
These are also one of those funny items for mages, is that early on, Growing Strife is actually going to be pretty close to these, because you're going to have longer fights where you're struggling more and where your mana resources are being taken away from you as a mage. Later in the phase, these are going to be much better as a mage, because you're going to have shorter fights, you're going to get your mana resources back, and that's when these will really shine. So it's not a big deal if you lose out on these in the first month as a mage, because you're not going to put them to great use anyways. But getting these late in the phase, when you want to do final couple speed runs, final couple parses, will be kind of nice. So.
Just for the record, we didn't factor Wrath into any of these decisions. I think factoring into Wrath is kind of cringe. Doesn't matter. Everybody will get what they need for Sunwell, because that's the challenge now. Like Bakr saying, if you're 2 weeks out, then maybe you think about it, but we're trying to just get through the phase as best as we can. So yeah. Okay, so this is probably the first decision that people are gonna rage at, but Fel Fury leg plates. I think we're thinking Fury Warrior and Ret, Pally, Prio equally. Good.
And arms.
Yeah.
Sure. Our warrior, yeah.
So this is it's interesting that Derry just got off the topic of this is pretty much all warlocks can use, and that's kind of like Lyn, right? For rogues, that's their only option.
For those that don't know, Lyn is Leggings of Immortal Knight, LIN.
Yep. That's their only option, right? These are, depending on the set, depending on the gear, these can become really close to Leggings of Immortal Knight. Obviously, warriors are probably going to drop their Executioner enchant after they get enough armor pen. Ideally, they have a weapon that they could swap on for higher armor targets, and get that double offhand glaive or double main hand glaive, right? And get an Executioner and a Mongoose enchant on it. But no, this is definitely something that you might reward a warrior with Leggings of Immortal Knight, but early on you'd probably be looking at giving them Fel Fury.
Yeah, I think that Leggings of Immortal Knight is probably competed over by too many people to, in good conscience, give it to your warriors. Like if you're in a Londo and you're gonna slurp a Leggings of Immortal Knight, then that's your guild's
I don't-
decision,
well,
but
At some point, though, Fel Fury are just better than Leggings of Mortal Knight under the right conditions, right? Your armor pin cap, you got IEA up, right? You're running double Mongoose, you're just Gig Abyss. Fel Fury become better, right? And it might take a while to get there, and the hit consideration, especially there for warriors. And if you listened to our last video, you would have gave your warriors SSR, so they wouldn't be in such a hit issue, and they wouldn't be crying over Lyn. But if you gave your hunters SSR, which you shouldn't have done, then your warriors are definitely getting the hit. So maybe consider that, right?
interesting.
And really looking at these versus Immortal Knight, biggest consideration there. Like for warriors, the haste goes a long way, right? As long as you can plan around it, as long as you can get your hit from another source like an F or something, or for a ret, you'd want to go for like the guys instead of the coif. Like it just makes it so much more worth it. I'm really coming from a place of itemization, and to utilize Leggings of Immortal Knight if you have a Dream State, that kind of requires that you need the coif. As if you were to use it with the talent.
You're really
Yeah,
cutting out,
you're lagging a
JBJ.
lot.
Damn it.
Nothing.
It's annoying.
Sorry, man. I think you understood what I think I can translate maybe, and you can say yes or no. But you're just trying to get gear on people, right? And giving Lyn to a warrior takes a lot of classes at the picture that could use those.
Do you guys want to go to my Discord? Maybe we can try that. I don't know.
Yeah, we can try that.
Do you guys all have my Discord?
Yep, I'll hop over.
Can you just link it one more time?
He doesn't have your Discord. Don't invite him.
It's fine. There's a channel at the bottom. Okay, yeah.
Oh, hello?
Keep
Yeah,
talking.
much better. Keep talking a little bit.
Yeah, that is so frustrating.
Nope.
Well, you guys.
Nope.
Click.
Nope.
So you're fucked, man.
Discord's fucky.
Get a new ISP.
Let's just keep going.
Is this better for me?
It is
wasn't
better.
for JBJ,
The
but
spreadsheet is going to be
whatever.
posted in the morning, guys, in a YouTube video. So yeah, JBJ, you want to give us a little taster of what you're saying?
Going back live.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Hands can handle most of this.
Yeah. I think it's just about getting loot on people, and it's not one of those things that you want to. Fury Wars are great, right? They're great cleave, great single target right now. They're not what they were in classic WoW, vanilla, where it's like, okay, this is obviously going to a warrior because that's the only people who do damage, right? Rogues are in consideration, especially if there's a lot of single target in Sunwell. Hunters are in consideration. Enhancement Shamans are all in consideration. I wouldn't just say, oh, your Fury Warrior is your best player, give it to them, unless maybe he is your best player. And in that case, you might want to consider giving it to him. I don't think we have to go too deep into Lyn right now. And I keep everything kind of falls back on that. It's kind of a linchpin of many sets. But if I was a warrior, and I know I have, I play an alt warrior, I'm looking for Fel Fury. I don't care about Lyn. It's just too contested, and I want to make it, let others have it.
If you're in a GDKP, go for it, man. Go for it. Fucking spend it. Just make sure I'm in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Fel Fury. That kind of is a taster of how we feel about Lyn, but we can get into that when we get there. Fel Strength leg plates, warrior, tank, beef.
Yeah, I mean, it's like your good beef expertise gear, but you're going to be well below all the Fury and red DPS and all that kind of stuff. So it's not something you get early on. It's just something to snag up when you can.
Dtain, I gotta ask because I really don't know, but I'm worried that how hard these bosses hit, and looking at some of these items, it's like you have 0 threat on, like there's spell damage on the paladin shit. Ferals are ferals, right? They're gonna get agi, which gives them crit and AP, but it's like, what are you doing for threat here?
Realistically, the warrior threat doesn't really scale that well anyway. It's just a matter of more expertise, so you're actually landing everything. So you're just being more consistent with every heroic strike. Everything like that is just going to continue to hit, and then crit. That's really the only two things where we get
You got
a high amount.
So it's all based on the additional threat multipliers, right? That's that you just want your
Yeah.
abilities to hit, so you get those additional. So your damage probably fucking starts to go down. You know, right? Like you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very
There's
impressive to begin with, so
yeah, there's nothing there. Oh, that sucks.
it's really just it's a beef set, and I mean, digging the theory of it beyond that, like if you're bringing a Brow Warrior, he's kind of just there to absorb a bunch of stuff, and eventually you're probably just going to phase him out anyway. It's just kind of the way to do it once you get the other tanks geared up.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's
it just depends on what your philosophy is.
Prop warriors are there for the beef, right? They're not going to be your main tank on threat sensitive fights, and the couple fights where they like something like Brutallus, right? Their threat doesn't matter because they can just lean on misdirects and the bear carrying them. So
yes, and that there's a lot of tauntable bosses, isn't there? I mean, there's Brutallus. Was Felmyst tauntable? I don't know.
Felmyst is not. No.
Felmyst is not.
I know a lot of
is...
sorry, a lot of people are very negative on prot warriors, and we took a prot warrior all the way through Sunwell in the first 2 days, and they worked great. Are they ideal? Maybe not, but they're totally workable, and there are some really good fights for prot warrior. Like, I think on Kil'Jaeden, the intervene to get to the orb is really solid.
But they're not tanking, so that's awesome that you just brought that up.
Well, ultimately, it just comes down to having a great player on a tank position is going to be more important than having a prot warrior over a bear.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like a good example, more relative example, is like the Brutallus situation, like what we talked about with the situational cooldown usages with stomps and bad RNG things that can really hurt a bear.
Yeah. That stomp window where you're stuck eating the entire stomp, prot warrior is better than a bear. Okay, let's move on.
All right. Yep. Sorry.
Call of the Pit Lord. It's your tank. Let's see where we landed on it. Do you guys remember? I need to update these.
Super high for Feral.
Feral warrior. So you'll probably give it to the Feral first.
Well, because ultimately your prot warrior is going to have expertise cap issues, right? But your Feral druid is not going to have as many of those issues.
You're correct. You're correct.
Bear. All right, bear. Tank gear is a little bit less exciting.
I'm excited.
Clutch of Demise. This is a less this is a less exciting item than some of the big stuff. So you're gonna give this to a player who may not be up for the big stuff early, but also someone who might not be jewel crafting, or like a warrior who is blacksmithing, because they're getting the chest piece. We're prioing survival here. That's what it says, guys. That's what it says. Everybody relax. Clutch of Demise over survival over warrior. We're right there with you. But yeah, your survival doesn't get a whole lot of prio, because unfortunately that's the way it is.
So yeah, and I see some comments in the chat like this still BIS for, I'm guessing you're like BM hunters over other things. I get that a BIS list was put out that says this is BIS for BM hunters, but you need to be in a very specific situation where it becomes your BIS item. It's not going to be your go-to item for every single fight, and it only becomes BIS at high levels of armor pen. So what I plan to do is run the armor pen neck pretty much throughout the entire thing, right? Like I don't know when I'll get the other upgrades. You can craft that armor pen neck. It's relatively cheap to craft, but we saw it. We did like 6 PTRs and didn't see a single pattern. But we're gonna trash farm a lot, so hopefully we see a lot more. But I wouldn't take this going into Sunwell on any class other than a survival. Later down the road, that might change, but if you see one early, definitely hit your survival. And even if you see it late, your survival's a Chad. He's playing like a pseudo support spec. Hit him up.
Yeah. It's less exciting, but we're trying to throw people bones where we can, and that's an easy one. Yeah.
If you gear off a BIS list and look at what the BIS lists come out as, especially this phase more than any, you could make really bad decisions early. where you might be prioing people's stuff that might not be as big as an upgrade as you think it is.
I think a lot of the people don't like they do prios out of absolute BIS lists when really you should be doing it like halfway through the phase where everyone's got about half the upgrades, right? Because that's where you'll be spending most of your time. And so this is okay, Heart of the Pit, caster BIS offhand across the board. We're not going to tell you where it should go.
I mean, this is really a question about who gets Sunflare Prio, right? This is just goes to the people who are first on Sunflare.
If you have TOC, you should get this, and then you should get Sunflare. Good.
Say it's kind of the filler item. Right?
Oh
So
no, Vandarr, you're just fucking cutting out.
Oh no.
I mean, this item isn't complicated. It's you figure out your Sunflare Prio, whether you want to give Sunflare to people who settled for TOC instead of Zardoom, or if you want to aim to give Sunflare to your maximum pumpers because you think they're your best players, you should give it to it. You know, that's basically a decision that's up to you and your guild and how your guild values things. But this Heart of the Pit itself just goes to people who are, you know, you just send it to people who are going to be getting Sunflare. There's not really much more complication to it than that.
Yeah, I think I think we all agree on that. Where is it? Heart of the Pit really pairs with a main hand. Give to whoever's lucky enough to get one early. Anyone with a main hand already. So yeah.
I guess the one exception is there's a mace main hand somewhere, right? That's
right
like
here.
Yeah, so this is also an option, right? This is obviously, you know, not Sunflare, but if you're giving someone Reign of Misery, this is also maybe you give them Heart of the Pit as well, because it's kind of, you know, the offhand is not the biggest part of getting weapons, and this is kind of a nice consolation upgrade, because if they get Reign of Misery, they're probably not getting Sunflare anytime soon, but you can still give them Heart of the Pit as an upgrade.
Yeah, I think we're prioing. We'll roll right into Reign of Misery. Unfortunately for the hybrids, we're going to be prioing them this over Sunflare, unless it's very specific conditions. This can't be used by warlocks or mages, and shadow priests, balanced druids, and elemental shamans all can use this. So we're going to go with them first. I think we're going shadow priests very first, unless they have Zardoom, and then the Boomkin and Ellie really like Zardoom, so we'll do the shadow priest here first. This is another one of those items like Starstalker Leggers are like, oh, this is not my absolute BIS, but like we can't all get BIS, especially in the likely shorter tier that phase 5 is. And so you just have to take it, smile, and then whisper that you want fucking shifting sliver or whatever, you know what I mean? Because
but I do think it makes, you know, again, depending on your guild, depending on your players, it makes a lot of sense to give Heart of the Pit to your Reign of Misery players, in terms of balance, in terms of reward, rather than your Sunflare players.
Sure, yeah, I like that. Because they're taking Reign of Misery, they should get Heart of the Pit sooner as a paired upgrade, and they drop off the same boss, which I don't know, feels fitting. So yeah, that's Reign of Misery. It looks cool. Belt tier is what it is. Again, we went over how we felt about it. Borderland Fortress Scripts. This is one of those items that doesn't have a pair. This is just, it drops. You're going to be really sad when it drops because there's some really good shit on this guy's loot table, and this isn't it. How did we prio it? Prot Warrior over Prot Paladin.
Yeah, it's tankier. That's boring. And you can really go either way with it. I just think they have a better, you know, if you want to go full mitigation, it's going to go to the warrior versus the paladin's option.
Sure. A lot of parry on that, but yeah.
That's actually the interesting part with Sunwell being the minus 20% dodge. If you can reconfigure gear to get below 20% dodge, you kind of get a bonus from more parry rating. So that's where you look more towards that.
Cool. Okay. All right. Legends of Immortal Night. I'm gonna get clipped, so here we go. This is the most fought over item in the entire raid. we are strictly not going to tell you where this goes. And it's written all over this sheet. It is player over class. Yes, over BNS. This is the most important item for physical DPS across the board. We can't tell you where it goes because it should be orange. Exactly. It unlocks a lot of gear options for a lot of people because of how much hit it has on it. It's so good. Everyone wants it, and there will be fights over this item. And I want you to take a step back and remember that you're only gonna be wearing it for a few months, and then you're gonna fucking drop it at a level 75 from some stupid quest reward, right? Who gives a shit? It's just loot. We're not gonna tell you where it goes. It's a big ass item. I'm gonna show you the sheet, and then Handz can talk about it, but it's the only item in this entire sheet that's red. Big ass item, massive item, player over class. We cannot tell you where it goes. Everyone wants.
So leggings of Mortal Knight, right? So Ega kind of brought it up. Like, I think first of all, you give it to the someone in your guild that has contributed a lot to the guild. If you're running a rogue and he's like, flaky, doesn't show up, it is technically the only item that you can get at a Sunwell. Don't give it to him, right? If it's a warrior Chad that puts in a lot of work and pumps, definitely prio him first. Consider going him first. It's one of those items and that just it opens up gear sets, especially for hunters, right? The BIS set that gets linked. If you want to wear that haze neck, if you want to wear the crafted gloves over Thalassians on that 6200, leggings over Mortal Knight opens up that set. Enhancement shamans, they've been doing work for us all expansion. They're in contention. It's about the same it's the same delta between Starstalker and Lyn for hunters as it is for shaman second BIS and Lyn. So there's an argument there to be made, but the biggest upgrade, because they have nothing else to wear, is going to be your rogues. I'm not saying to go rogues first. Rogues, if you went rogues first on every leather piece, rogues would be geared up the quickest, and what's the point of that? You gotta spread it around. So maybe if you're going rogues first on duplicitous guys, they can wait on Lyn. That's a guild decision.
Yeah. I really want it to be known that we're not telling you where it goes. There will be somebody who comes up with the ultimate sim who says it's best for this class. But it doesn't matter. That doesn't fucking matter in this case.
There's a lot of fights too that you have to consider throughout Sunwell that uptime's a consideration, right? Maybe you go ret because you're struggling on Kil'Jaeden and rets get 25% more holy damage, right?
Oh, don't do that.
Definitely meme in there, but it's like you look at who's doing the most damage. People say shamans are support classes, but I saw a lot of times throughout the PTR that shamans just were doing great. They had great abilities, great uptime on bosses. They scale super well with haste, and on the Kil'Jaeden you get that haste buff. It's I wouldn't be ashamed if I gave one to a shaman.
Yeah. JBJ, you want to talk about it?
I'd love to.
Fury probably gets the least benefit of all of them, of all classes and all sets and gear levels. I think Fury ends up getting the least DPS out of it. Obviously, that's single target. That's not cleave. Once you factor in cleave, you just go Fury, right? But there's not a lot of trash. You have one big cleave fight in Sunwell, and that's Miru. And Miru's a pretty big fight, so I would consider Fury as, maybe if you're struggling on Miru. But I could talk at length where to give these, and what conditions, and it's super situational, right? Maybe your single target sucks. Okay, fucking throw him on your BM, right? He's carrying your single target damage.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Moving on. I think. Again, this really should be orange. It's that important. It swaps with the sun mote to Legs of the Immortal Beast. The odds of anybody wanting this item are...
That's not true.
I mean, it's good. I'm not saying it's not good, but
If you are a Feral Druid and you take Lyn over Immortal Beast, you are wrong and you are griefing your raid actively. I will say that. Immortal Beast is miles better than Immortal Might for a Feral Druid. Whether you're going to give Lyn to a Feral Druid, obviously, is a big question because it's a huge DPS item, and items like this you generally give to your DPS. But if you're a Feral Druid and you take Immortal Might, you're wrong.
I remember Baron doing his Bistless. He's like, "Wow, these are good. Do you guys want these?" And everyone was like, "Yes, we do." He's like, "Oh, okay."
These are absolutely insane pants.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable how good these are. But again, if you can get away with it at all, you should give this to your DPS. If you're like hard walling on a tank fight, like you just cannot get past the tank check on a fight, then maybe. But if you're reach Felmyst, you're probably not there.
You're past that point.
The wall tank fight is Brutallus. But I will. The thing I very, very, very strongly believe is if a Feral Druid ever takes Immortal Knight over Immortal Beast, they are actively griefing their raid.
What if they're a cat?
If you're a mono cat, you're actively griefing your raid already. So
all right, we've heard it here.
Rugs.
I call them out like that.
Just saying. Facts are the fact. Dude, Feral Druids are such good tanks. They're incredibly good tanks that mono cat is just an absolute waste of the spec. Especially in Sunwell, where it's not like BT or a lot of other tiers where it's mostly one tank fights where you can be catting a lot if you have a 2 druid setup. If you have 2 druids, they're going to be tanking. Both of them are going to be tanking a lot of fights.
Drew, patch, man.
I didn't. Sorry.
Yeah, Vandarr, you're cutting out again, sir. All right, we can move on. We've said everything we could.
I just added a exclamation point loot sheet so people can do that. Okay. Rugs, I love you. All right. Chainlinks of the Tumultuous Storm and Kil'Jaeden Spiritual Reconstruction. This is the same item again. One of these drops, I forget which one, and the other one turns into a with a sun moat. We went. What did we do here? We went Ellie. Then Resto. I think we just did it because of loot distribution's sake. Resto was taking a fair amount of stuff, so we went Ellie here. If you don't have an Ellie Shaman early on, it might make sense to give these to a Resto Shaman. You got to remember that the Resto is going to be using their 4-piece, so you want to pair.
It's not wrong either way, I think, with these, right?
Yeah. You want to pair this with a piece of tier if you go Resto with it. So yeah, we went Ellie here. Ellies don't get a lot of prio in this tier because we don't bring a lot of Ellies these days, but we do want to try to make sure that things are balanced. So if you're not going to give it to an Ellie, you can give it to a Resto. They're absolutely insane for Resto. So, but they're also...
I would also say week 1, there's an argument that your Ellie is probably healing a lot of fights. So if strictly very, very early progression, maybe you give these to a healer because an Ellie's only going to be using them on the easy fights, right? So it depends a little bit on that. Especially considering on your guild, if you're having struggles with healing checks, your Ellie's probably already respec Resto for those fights.
I forget which one drops. I forget. But if the Resto one is the one that drops and then the swap is to Ellie, you could give it to the Ellie and they could gem it and enchant it and use it as a Resto pan until they're greenlit to go back to Ellie and then make the swap. So they get...
Oh, you can do that?
Yeah. So they get double use out of it. That's a strong possibility. I can't remember if someone wants to figure out and let me know. But I've been thinking about that with regards to a lot of these things of like,
I think the Ellie piece drops and the...
Okay, well then it doesn't quite work that way, but that would have been nice. It also doesn't work that way for this. The healing pants drop and then they turn into the caster ones. So yeah. Okay, Brooch of the Highborn. This is BIS for non-spirit healers. You can give it.
I think the ZA neck is better.
For spirit healers, the ZA neck is for sure better.
I think for shamans, the spirit neck is still better.
Okay. I mean, I think we were going paladin on this anyways. First, I didn't look too deeply into it. We went Paladin first.
Yeah, I think that's fine. But, as someone who plays a shaman, I would take Nature's Mercy over this for every single fight that stamina doesn't matter. The stamina on this is really the selling point. If you have a fight where you're really worried about dying, where you're taking hits,
Sure.
then this starts looking a lot more.
Sure.
But if a fight their stamina doesn't matter, I would use Nature's Mercy probably.
Is there a real reason you leveled 6 alts in every roll so you can correct us? Bring this in.
I think you go Paladin and then whoever wants it. If your Ellie Shaman doesn't have Nature's Mercy, you go him, stuff like that. It's not a very exciting item. The icon's cool though. Swordbreaker's Bulwark. Prot Pally, Prot Warrior.
Yeah, one to each. Did Prio ever doesn't have the Illidan Shield probably?
Yeah,
one doesn't have it. It's good.
They probably do both. They're not going to fight over this. It does look cool. It's a little bit bright, but
it's the surfboard.
Yeah, but it's they're not going to fight over it. You'll see 2 within a month, I guarantee you, and you're just going to curse your Lin luck. So, Grandmaster Staff of Torrents. This is actually kind of an interesting item.
I think it's actually a really interesting piece.
Yeah.
Because week 1, this is going to drop, and it's going to be an upgrade for every single one of your casters, and nobody's going to want to take it. Because it's a relatively small upgrade over something like ZD.
It's like TOC. No one linked for TOC, right? Now everyone's like, oh, I don't need it.
Yeah.
I'll wait for Zardoom.
Even worse than TOC, I think. Because it's a really feels bad item for a lot of casters because there's so much hit. And for instance, as a mage, you're already hit capped. So 50 extra hit rating, what is that going to do for you? But the sockets combined with new gems that are coming out for some classes and the raw value of the crit and damage, for a mage, this is a small upgrade over Zardoom. I think for warlocks, especially if they're not getting an Ellie Shaman, this is a small upgrade over Zardoom. It's going to be an upgrade for pretty much every single caster you have, but none of them are going to want it. So you got to play around something like that.
Here's the Sunwell conversion. These are the ones that they sell. So the healing one does drop. Okay. Thank you, Nomad.
So your plan can work for the Ellie Shaman?
No,
No?
No, the healing ones are the ones that it sells. So it drops as Ellie.
Gotcha.
Sorry, keep going. Was you done?
No,
I can't
I'm
remember.
done. That was pretty much it.
We prioed this to, what did we do? Caster loot.
No one.
Nobody. Catch up gear. We said go mages. Boomkin maybe if they don't have a Zardoom. Warlocks do not want. So
of course nobody wants it, right?
Nobody really wants it.
The one thing I'll say is that just because someone's on Sunflare Prio or something like that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't give this to them, because it's one of those awkward things. But this is a small upgrade or maybe a side grade over Zardoom. It's probably a pretty decent upgrade over most TOC setups, but you're probably giving Sunflare to most of your TOC users. That shouldn't necessarily mean that you don't give this to them. They're not going to want it, but you should still give people upgrades when there are upgrades. But maybe don't take this into big account in terms of adjusting Sunflare Prio or anything. Just to convince people to take it, upgrade their stuff, get through progression.
What a thoughtful and measured response that people are never going to accept when they are forced to take this item.
You see that in your trade window, you alt F4.
Yeah.
And you're just like, sorry, I see it.
Yeah.
Did it rot? Oh man, it expired.
Oh,
Fuck.
my bad. Yeah. So here we go. We're back.
This is also the one thing, actually, if you want to click into the boots, this is actually one tier item that I want to talk about a little bit. For a class like mages, and I suspect for classes like Resto and Boomkins, the specific pieces of tier you get don't really matter, right? The tier, they're all upgrades, but it's not like one piece is insane or anything. The boots are insane for rogues and feral druids. The rogue, if you look at the rogue animation on these boots, it is absolutely...
I don't want to hear about rogues ever again, if I'm being honest with you.
But what I'm saying is, whatever plans you have for tier in terms of your other pieces, for Vanquisher token in particular, it makes a lot of sense to give your casters and healers prio on the wrists and the belt, and to give your rogues and your feral druids prio on the boots, because this is a piece that is just a much bigger upgrade for rogues and druids than for any of the other caster versions.
And that's specifically what we're trying to look at, like, come up with the idea of, give one token with one item so they can keep a 4-piece. But what item is it? Because you're going to see each token. You're going to see 3 of each. No, I'm sorry. You're going to see 1 of each token per night. So you're going to have enough to make decisions. So then it's kind of like finding out where that delta lies and who can use it.
Yeah.
These are big enough for the rogues and ferals that it should supersede any other considerations. These should go to rogues and ferals first, no matter what, in my opinion.
Okay, good to know. 20 expertise is nuts, dude. That's nuts.
This is also like we hit the 3 boss. There's been a lot of spicy loot, and it's if we get a gated Sunwell, these are the 3 bosses you're gonna see week 1, and then you get 1 more and 1 more and 1 more. So you're gonna hopefully see a bunch of this stuff. And also, if you make it to Felmyst, first week, and it's released in 1 week, you're gonna have upgrades that that raid to put on. This isn't as bad as some of the BT Hydral shit that was dropping, and you're just like week 1, you're like, oh man, we got just crap, right? Like everything's an upgrade in Sunwell. It's not as big as others, but you're gonna be happy to see this loot.
Yeah. Okay, so on to Eredar Twins. So as you can see, these loot tables are fucking massive, but a lot of these are swaps, so the loot tables are actually a lot smaller. Muru and Kil'Jaeden each drop 4 items, and Eredar Twins drops 6 items. Each of the twins drops 3 things. They have a guaranteed drop for a couple random things. One of the guaranteed drops is a PvP neck. I think there's a guaranteed cloak also, but I could be wrong. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but you're not going to get 6 shoulders or 6 weapons. You know what I mean? It's going to be...
Pretty sure we saw Primal Instinct every kill, so that might be a guarantee.
No, we had 1 kill without it.
We got a lot of these. We got a lot of these weapons. For anyone just tuning in, I'm going to post the sheet in the morning in a YouTube video. So if you subscribe, you will see that in your feed. I don't want to post it here. I want you guys to go and watch the video. Yeah. So we're going to go into Shroud of Redeemed Souls, which is a healer cloak. It is not bis for anybody. The Illidan cloak is bis. Some of your healers won't have the Illidan cloak. So you can give it to them. Where are we? Shroud of the Redeemed Souls. Anyone without Shroud, it's an okay. The Illidan cloak's better. Give it to anyone without Shroud. It's not a very exciting item. You still want Shroud. You should still be clearing BT every week anyways for glaives. So, yeah.
I got a question, and kind of a boomer question, and maybe it just doesn't even apply anymore. But like, do healers consider, like, when you say bis for healers, is it all just throughput, or is it like, do you consider like regen?
There are times where you want regen, like, but often,
like when you're looking at like Prio and stuff, you always Prio off throughput, right?
Oftentimes there are things you can do to prevent yourself from going if you send it, right? Like there's snowballs, there's mana pots, there's better trinket usages, there's a ton of ways that you can prevent yourself from going In Sunwell, you will go Shadow Priest. Like in Sunwell, you will go and I'm gonna be gemming Spirit in most of my gear. So there is a argument to be made that this is a great cloak for that because of the 13 MB5, but even then Shroud is still better. Shroud is insane.
Gotcha.
It is
also, and a lot of time for healers, throughput is mana, because having more throughput means you can downrake more aggressively, and that's often a better way to extend your mana pool than to put on MP5.
Sure.
Same thing for adding more healing power. It's the exact same reasoning behind it. So lots of times you handle mana through play, and you just put the best items you can on. There are certain swaps that are side grady, right? There are some swaps that you'll make. This is a mana item versus a haste item, but lots of times you just adjust your play style to match it.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So which item gives you the best chance to heal my pet? Because that's what I get.
Like, and I know you're joking, but like legitimately that's something that throughput helps with, because it allows you to stop healing everybody and focus on random shit like the pet. So
All right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna try to keep questions clear, and we can work through this. I know it's getting late.
yeah, Crimson Paragon's cover.
Tank and go feral first with it. The probably gonna grab it eventually, but we're so high in expertise with all of our gear right now. We really want hit in the slot for the most part. It's not a bad item, and honestly, as was said before, you're gonna want prop allies to pick this up for pre-patch, but that's much later on.
It looks cool as shit. Holy hell. All right. Tank. Lots of expertise. Pretty cool. For those saying better pet management, wait till you're fucking in Sunwell and tell me about better pet management, because holy shit, it's like Vietnam in there for pets. It's awful.
There are so many mechanics in Sunwell that aren't resistible. So like the resistance you stack up on your pet doesn't matter. I'm sure the avoidance was broken a little bit on some fights. Felmyst in particular, I noticed my pet would just get good, and I don't even know if the healers could heal through it. It's basically tonk or die. So yeah, better pet management, but it's like you don't even untonk it when you tonk it, and you're like, if I pull this guy out, he's dead, right? So I don't fucking know. And then melee can stand on your pet during Kil'Jaeden and just kill it. It's interesting. Heal my
Yeah.
We
pet,
do it on
please.
purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. Amos of the Convoker swaps with which one is it? It's one of these. Okay, so these two are swaps. This is a drop. So we'll talk about Amos of the Convoker first. Looks cool as shit.
So this is where, especially when you're talking about warlocks and mages, our guild, as far as I know, is largely operating under the assumption that mages will stay arcane for most of the relevant Sunwell phase. That's not necessarily saying that for most of Sunwell, arcane mages are going to significantly outperform fire mages, but it significantly relieves gear while maintaining roughly equal or maybe even a little bit better performance than fire. So it's almost a no-brainer, especially in, a relatively good guild where you're going to get past progression and get into quicker kill times fast, to keep your mages arcane, to keep them playing arcane. And if they're not playing arcane, they should probably be playing some kind of hybrid arcane frost, not fire.
This is the warlock one, Yuri. It's not shoulder.
Yeah, that's my point.
Okay.
This is one of the reasons, is to free up an item like this to go to warlocks. Mages will largely be using head and shoulders tier 5, which means that they can largely be taken off of the loot distribution for those two items. And so this frees up this item in particular to go to warlocks and other casters. And also the healing version, which mages would also be very happy with, to go to healers instead of casters.
Yeah. So this is the warlock one. Warlocks kind of don't want this and also kind of do. The absolute best for warlocks is tier 6 shoulders and the helm off Kil'Jaeden, but that's not going to be possible for everybody. So you're going to want to give this to some warlocks, and then they'll go tier 6 helm, and some warlocks will go tier 6 shoulders and the Kil'Jaeden helm. So
yeah, when it comes to a lot of this gear and a lot of the tier 6 versus offset slots, you just want to make sure you're not rotting gear, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure people are getting upgrades, especially early in the tier. You want to make sure that these upgrades are going to making your progression better.
Yeah.
So this is an upgrade for every single warlock, and it will be for quite some time. So give it to them. Make sure they get, if they are complaining that they're not going to get their absolute best piece, they should suck it up.
Yeah. Okay, we're just gonna try to move quick. It's 11 already. It's like 2 a.m. for him. Shawl of Wonderment and Shoulder Pads of Knowledge's Pursuit. Mages want to use tier 5 shoulders while they're still arcane, right? So this is a priest shoulder. Congratulations, priest. You get proud gear over casters. The caster version has spirit on it. It's not for warlocks, and warlocks want this one, so there you go. I'm excited about this. When it drops, I'm gonna be excited. I just love the way it looks. Spalders of Reclamation swap with Spalders of Devastation. Yeah, RT Cinema, I don't think you ever take the shoulders as a mage. Let me double check what the sheet says on
The
Spalder.
shoulders are definitely weird, right? Like
Yeah.
all the shoulders across all the classes, just like, what do you do with them?
Yeah. Spallers of Reclamation swap with the Resto Druid shoulders. Resto Druids don't need shoulders right away. Because they want to keep their... No. I think we went Boomkin here for some reason. Boomkin might not want these in the long run. They might want to run 4-piece, but we're going Boomkin here. This is one of those items where your stat drops. There's a lot of other shoulders that you prefer, and yeah. Shoulder pads of Vehemence and Demon Tooth shoulder pads. Finally, we're in some juicy shit. Hands, go ahead.
I gotta look up.
Am I?
JB, yeah, JBJ,
you're
go.
Go ahead, try it.
So with the 3 physical shoulders here, you've got the Demon Tooth, the Mantle of Gorm Forest, the shoulder pads of Berserking, the plate ones. From this is barring like haste breakpoints, and they're very, very, very close. But for Golden of the Forest, first enhancement shaman, it's like single-digit DPS different numbers. For red as well, like all 3 of them 10 DPS. You really want to look at these and just deal with the loot distribution and just making sure that you throw around people.
I think you're just lagging a little too much.
Yeah,
JBJ.
I'm
so sorry.
I think the general consensus is each shoulder is pretty good, right? The plate ones maybe not so much, but everyone's looking for like the leather mail shoulders, and depending on which one you get dropped, you might want to just consider, just who hasn't got an upgrade. They're all pretty close in DPS. I like enhancement shamans going first. It's one of the things that they can easily just take. It's not a very super contested piece because some hunters are gonna wear their tokens. Rogues will want to wear their tokens, so it's one of those things where you look at Furies, you look at Rogues, Furies enhancements and Rets as the big contention for these pieces.
We went Feral over Ret for these Demon Tooth, and then for Mantle of the Golden Forest, we went Enhance over Ret. And then for...
And that's like a common theme there. Like if a Ret would take either, or if someone would take either, then prio them second, because you don't know how many are going to drop. And they're all so close that you could just give them to anybody, and they're getting an upgrade. And the BIS piece is not going to be that far off.
Yeah, I think you just take what you can get. The shoulders are exciting. They look cool, especially the male ones look pretty cool.
And anytime you can hit a tank with gear and not feel super bad, because it's not like, it's not Leggings of Mortal Knight, right?
Sure.
I think you should definitely do it.
The other thing about these is hunters don't want... No hunter wants shoulders. We're using our tier 6 shoulders, so that takes 2 people out of the slot for that.
Rogues also use tier 6.
Sure, yep. Rogues too, so that's helpful.
And maybe sometimes warriors will. It's probably not BIS, but it is consideration that warriors could potentially use their tier 6 shoulders. I don't think on my warrior I'm going to be looking for tier 6 shoulders.
I saw a set where survival hunters were using tier 6 gloves and these shoulders.
There's a pure, the pure super Chad Agi set, right? The Gigabis exposed weakness set.
Sure.
We usually don't gear that path, right? I mean, it's great for parsing, but there are some trade-offs there, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else's damage goes up, but if the delta between your damage and the damage everyone else is doing is too big, it's like there's no point.
Yeah, I think like Yukarai just said, for style, I would love these as a hunter eventually, and it's Ironforge Stormwind RP set.
Yeah.
I don't think the shoulders are going to be too hard to get long term. All right, Equilibrium Epaulets and Erupting Epaulets. I think nobody wants these, if I recall. I think they all want tier 6. Okay, so both Ellie and Resto use tier 6 shoulders, but they're nice if they can make it work. So this is one of those items.
These are an upgrade. These are another one of those pieces where if these drop, you should give them to one of them because it's going to be an upgrade.
And I say that, sure, but like you'll use it in a mid tier set, but long term, full Abyss, you won't. So you're gonna take it. You're gonna swap stuff out for it and make it work. But long term, yeah. But I mean, to be fair, I did say that was the way that we wanted to gear people. So yeah. Erupting.
For progression, these are still big items. It's still a big upgrade
Sure.
for your resto shamans.
Sure.
You know, and they can very, very easily move around items to accommodate these. It's not a big deal at all.
Yeah, and you got to look though between the what they're taking off to put those on. 4-piece for resto shamans is huge. So they're gonna.
You can move around. You can move around your 4-piece, or you can get another tier. That's all very easy to do.
No,
I'm
but
very happy getting these as a resto shaman in the first month.
Yep. Yeah, sure. I'm not disagreeing, but it's not as big of an upgrade just putting these on, and like having to like downgrade your 4-piece, right?
Yeah, but these are also completely uncontested, right? So
True. That's a good point.
Yeah. Sorry, JBJ, that this is happening. It's fucking blows dick. All right. Apparently my sheet's already public, but whatever. Who cares? All right.
Well, you had the URL at the top, and someone probably paused the stream.
And copied it.
Fucking
100%.
get cracked.
I'm not going to be able to do anything. Thanks, Chemix. All right. So plate shoulders, pauldrons of perseverance, and pauldrons of berserking. We are giving these to warriors, obviously. Prot pallies want their own set, so these are just straight warrior shoulders.
And DPS warriors.
DPS
Like,
warriors.
you do DPS warriors of those, yeah.
The Prot warriors want tier 6 shoulders, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's very minimal between the two, and it's not worth taking this away from DPS warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I misspoke when I said there weren't the good plate shoulders, but yeah, they're the berserking are the good plate shoulders. I was thinking Rets who don't value the plate pieces as much. I think Rets looking for the
Look at these dicks. 17 people, 22. God, you fucking dongles. All right. Sorry. Where are we on this? You see it?
no.
Here it is. So we're going Fury / Arms over Ret.
Yeah, I think Rets.
Still good for
They're great for Ret.
as good.
Yeah, I think Demon Tooth
Rets looking for
are better, but they're saying it's 100% bis for Ret. I think there's an argument to be made regardless. But yeah, you're just gonna take what you can get, and if you want to swap it down the line for something, fine. Spalders of the Thalassian Savior and Thalassian Defender. Again, we're going Prot Pally here first. You probably only have one Holy Pally in the raid, and the Prot Pally's gear is going to be more impactful than the Holy Pally's gear, so we're going to give it to the Prot Pally. The Prot Pallies can often carry a fight, and the Holy Pally is not going to do all that much. So
I don't know. I've seen some Holy Paladins pump on Brutallus.
La is asleep, so I can say it out loud. So someone posted earlier, I think it was Lightbrand, but apparently they drop one neck, what was the other thing, Lightbrand? There's one neck, 4 items, and 1 piece of tier, random piece of tier. Thank you. So you get a random token, either Bracer's Belt or Boots of any kind, a PvP neck, which can be good for some classes in PvE scenarios, and 4 of any of these other items. So yeah. So these PvP necks, which we are now getting into, we are prioritizing them to PvPers across the board. Your highest arena rating, current arena rating PvPer should get this if they want it. Be reasonable and let them pump with it. These are pretty good. Some of them are good in PvE scenarios, but they're even better in PvP scenarios. So just give it to a PvPer. All right, Amulet of Unfettered Magics. This is caster bis across the board for everybody, but it's more bis for some than others. And
Not bis for mages.
it's not bis for mages. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The ZA neck is game bis for mages.
Yep.
fucking slurpers.
Gotcha.
All right. How did we? Rank says it is bis for horde mages.
Maybe like, but if it is, it's by extremely minor amount. It just lets you maybe swap a couple gems around. It's not a big deal. There are better places to get your hit.
Yeah, you don't have to take a neck from other classes. That might be best for you, but yeah.
We're not ignoring Professions Almighty. It's factored into the prios a lot of the time. So yeah. So for this, let's see where we went. We did.
I think we went for basic consolation for support classes on this item.
If you check my chat,
We went Ellie over Balance over Warlock. Ellie and Boomkin are lower prio on the bigger stuff, so we'll give them this. This is kind of the same item as the Clutch of Demise, right? Where the support classes don't get a lot of prio on the shiny shit, so let's give it to them first. Yeah, maybe not the Ellie, now that I'm thinking about it, since they'll be resto for a while. The Boomkin could be a good choice. But yeah, this isn't the very exciting item. But a lot of people do still want it. What'd you say? Gigabis, Warlock, none JC, but we have a lot of prio, so we take care of our Ellie Boom here. Yeah, okay. Band of Ruinous Delight.
So this item, pretty much every physical is gonna want this item. Across the board, it's a great item. The issues that come up with it is, and where I would, because of this stuff, where I would go to this person first is if someone's passing like any chance of leggings or Mortal Knight or something, you look at it like hitting them up with this. Maybe some of your support specs. I mean, it's a big ring, right? I don't want to marginalize it. It's not something that you just give to anybody, but I would definitely look at player over class. People that are going to pass bigger upgrades like leggings or Mortal Knight. Maybe this is the consolation prize. The leggings over Mortal Knight is Band of Ruinous Delight. I think that rhymes, so I think that even makes more sense. So that's kind of where I'm looking is like hunters that don't take Lin. I would give them this. You get out of that fight, you win here. Outside of that, like biggest DPS upgrade per person, cleave fights probably warriors and single target probably hunters. I don't have those exact numbers, but that's usually the way it works.
Yeah. I think we went with enhance if we had to pick, right? But
yeah, and I think that might have changed a little bit, especially after we talked more about leggings of Mortal Knight. You could probably leave it blue. I like giving gear to my enhancement shamans, but I think we settled on Quaif being a higher prio to enhance item.
okay.
And like, so I think hunters without Lin would be in our guild probably where we'd go. Hunters that aren't getting Lin is probably going to be high up on this ring.
And then they pair it with the badge ring, which is one agi better than the ZA ring. So yeah.
Yep, depending on ARP, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how much.
Sure, hardcore AM is also good. So okay. Book of Highborn Hymns. This is the BIS healer offhand across the board, unless you're using a shield. So it's just your singular druid and your singular priest. I would give it to your priest first, because the druid is probably going to get the staff first. We're prioing druids on the Kil'Jaeden staff first, and your priest likely has the Illidan mace, so give it to your priests first, and then go druid if they don't have the staff by then. A priest could run this and the Illidan mace for the rest of the game and be really happy. So you could go Resto Shaman, you could go Paladin if they really don't want it to not wear a shield, but they're going to want to wear a shield. So first give it to your priest, and then you can decide from there.
Yeah, as a shaman, I would use this on some fights, but I mean, as a healer, the fights that really matter are Twins and Muru, right? And this will be pretty good on Twins, but this will be terrible on Muru. If you can use a shield on Muru, you should use a shield.
You will occasionally get slapped on Muru.
Yeah, but as a Resto Shaman, I guarantee you'll wipe a dozen times over this tier by getting slapped by mobs coming in. And wearing a shield will let you take a hit, and that's a big deal. If
your Resto Druid has Illidan mace, I would still give this to the priest first, because the Resto Druid should be up for the Kil'Jaeden staff first, because the Illidan mace is so much better for the priest that the delta between the staff and the mace for them is a lot smaller than it is for the druid.
And if you gave druid mace before your priest, then you probably did that wrong.
Yeah, the priest should have been Prio and Illidan mace. Shiv of Exsanguination.
Interesting piece, because it's, you know, it's one of those things that you're not going to take a Grip of Manaroth as a hunter. You're not going to take it from the shaman. If there's warriors that still need a main hand, you're not going to take it from them. So this is like your de facto, like, hey, this is what I get, and I'm going to be happy with it. It's a great item. It's not as good as Grips, but you know, it's you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's not the most exciting, but it's
and I
good.
think I misspoke. I'm not Grips of Manaroth. It's Hand of the Deceiver.
Yeah.
You're not taking hand.
Yeah. I mean, you will after the 4th or 5th, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if you see 4 or 5 hands, though, like, you know, that you gotta, you know, wonder what you didn't see, right? So
Sure. Okay, Archon's Gavel. This is a catch-up item. Nobody really wants this. The Illidan mace is better for a lot of classes. It's good, don't get me wrong. If your paladin doesn't have Illidan mace, this is a good item to give to them, but they should still get the Kil'Jaeden mace first. You could also go shaman here if they don't have an Illidan mace, which they should by now, hopefully. If all your shamans have an Illidan mace and your paladin does it, I would give this to them, and then I would still give the Illidan mace, or the Kil'Jaeden mace, to the paladin. There's an argument to be made there, but whatever. This is the same thing as the staff off of Felmyst, right? Where it's not bis, feels a little bit bad to get. You shouldn't be punished for it, but you can slam a red gem in it and you're happy. You know, it's you could ride into Wrath looking fly as fuck. So, okay, Grip of Manaroth.
So this is interesting, and you know, I'm sure if Zath was here, he would tell me exactly what we need to do with it. But from what I take, this could be your like single target Fury offhand if they don't have Warglaives, right? I don't know how it pairs up on multi-target cleave. I would assume that you'd probably want to slow, high damage, you know, high top end for your Whirlwinds, but I think you go non-glaive warrior first if they'd want it. If they're looking to gear a little bit different, then you know, this is a decent item for your hunters who need some hit. Outside of that, it's not a great item, and hunters really don't want it for a hit, but you don't know what they're rocking. So Furies and potentially hunters, but outside of that, hopefully your Furies have Warglaives and they don't have to look at this.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Vash Dagger for in tier 5. It's a very good single target offhand, but you're really gonna want something that hits harder for cleave. So similar to the way Vash Dagger was like a weird item to give out because it was like, oh, here's your single target offhand only.
Look, guys, people are flipping shit about this right now.
That's warriors.
It's gonna drop, dude, and it's if it's an upgrade, what are you gonna fucking do? Not take it? Like,
it's also worth mentioning it does have hit on it too, which, as we said before, you're struggling as a warrior moving and transitioning to get hit, especially if you didn't get SSR. So this can be an item if you don't have an offhand. Otherwise, that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. If you're a Fury warrior and this drops, you should take it. It'll be an upgrade for your boss fights, and there's a lot of boss fights, a lot of single target boss fights in this tier. Take it, use it. You'll be very happy with it, unless you have glaives.
Okay, it looks cool. Stanchion. Give it to your Feral. Thanks. Feral.
Easy.
I think I said Feral lol in the thing, so there you go. If you have 2 Ferals, give it to your favorite. All right. Golden Bow of Quel'Tha Loss. It's what Thoradol should have looked like, in my opinion. I think it looks way fucking cooler than Thoradol. That those like extra little claws on the end are dope. But yeah, Handz.
That's easy. I mean, it's the same thing. Like you want to take Hand of the Deceiver from a shaman or a fury that might need that. So you give this to hunters. You might consider giving it to this hunter that's not up for throw at all, or maybe give it to the hunter that is up for throw at all if he's that much better than your other hunters. But you know, it sucks. But you know, there's 2 bows that drop, so and Thoradol's 5%. I'd be happy with it.
Yeah, I think if you're a hunter, you should expect this and never see Thoradol, and then you'll be happy. Thoradol's a 5% drop. That's like getting a specific glaive, not any glaive, a specific one. Remember, you'll probably never see it drop. So just get that in your fucking head that you're never gonna see it, and you'll be happy. You'll never be disappointed. And if it does drop, holy shit, great.
Cut the amount of glaives you've seen in half, and that's probably the amount of Thoradols you'll see.
We're seeing 5%, which is glaives, so whatever. 5%, 7% still doesn't matter. It's low.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's someone out there that says it's 7. Whatever. All right.
Muru. Be okay, Handz?
Yeah, we're getting there. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. All right.
I don't gotta talk for a while.
Felconqueror Raymond's.
So this is a funny item because most people who want this are also going to be considering going tailoring for Sunfire robes. So it becomes pretty easy. You give this to the ones that didn't go tailoring or who are having trouble getting the pattern to drop. Or buying the pattern. I think that's the one that's a pattern's BOE, but it's going to be hella expensive. But that's pretty much it. That's largely basically all your non-mage casters are going to be considering this. I think maybe like Esprits or Boomkins might consider Ghostly Hatred the same way that mages do. But most of your, I believe actually that pretty much all of them prefer this overall. So you just give it to the ones who didn't go tailoring.
Yeah, we prioed, what did we do? I think we said Boomkin first because they were likely not tailoring. Boomkin, Ellie, Shadow Priest. It's good for the hybrids who aren't tailoring or have shit luck with the pattern.
I just said in chat if you're JC.
Yeah, some of your warlocks aren't going to go tailoring. They're going to want to keep enchanting.
Sure.
Enchanting's still good. They're going to want to go tailoring for the neck because they think that's a better value. And so they should be on this too, but probably not like first prio on this because they chose that. But it's kind of whatever. It's largely a swap piece with the tailoring chest.
Sure.
So you just work that in. Yeah,
and I think that if you're tailoring and you're not picking this item up, some prio should be bestowed upon you in other areas. A lot of stuff works like that. All right, so these don't swap, right? Because they don't swap. So the next is Robes of Falter Light, which swap with Rose of Ghostly Hatred. Priest and Druid Bis, I believe, and Diri.
Yeah, I mean, this is your Mage Bis robe as well. And this is one of those places where, I talk about mages are alleviating some of your loot pressure by holding on to 2 of their tier 5 pieces in the helm and the helm and the shoulders. This is where hopefully they're getting paid back in prio, right? If you're freeing up the helm and shoulders to go to healers, hopefully you're getting prio on the chest, and we'll talk about later the gloves, which are swapped pieces with the healers. That's kind of the trade-off I imagine most guilds should go for. For the most part, it's roughly a 1-to-1 trade, right? You have 1, maybe 2, probably only 2 healers that really want this. You're probably running 2 mages or maybe 1 mage. So it's roughly, I'm taking chest and gloves, you're taking helm and shoulders. We're gonna swap it the other way on the other side.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind is a lot of priests are tailoring, so you'll take that if you have it. The tailoring robes are just a smidge worse than the Robes of Faltered Light, and they look exactly the same. So we're gonna go mage here first with these. It's fine. You don't need these to be effective. They're very good, but fuck it. Mages are using tier 5, so it's nice to throw them a bone and get them out of their tier 5. That's something that we've got to keep in mind about mages is like if they're swapping out of tier 5, it's really, really good to give it to them because it's a huge fucking upgrade. Okay. Next is Sunglow Vest. which swaps with Utopian Tunic of Elune, which is a caster chest. We went Resto Druid over Balance here. Balance prefer tailoring or the Fell Conqueror robes, so Resto Druid here. Resto Druid, ultimately it's not BIS for them, but it's very, very good. The Robes of Falls are lighter, probably a little bit better, but you'll never give it to them over Sunglow Vest early. So Resto Druid here. Yeah, not a tough decision. Utopian Tunic of Elune, again, Balance Druid prefer tailoring or Fell Conqueror. So, but I mean, after your Resto Druid gets one, give it to your Balance Druid, whatever. Who cares? All right, now we're on to one of the bigger items in the tier. Harness of Carnal Instinct and Bladed Chaos Tunic.
So this item is probably the second biggest item for classes that can't wear something else, behind Leggings of Mortal Knight, which everybody wants. But one of the biggest DPS upgrades that you can just put on right away. Bladed Chaos Tunic for hunters, rogues. Luckily, most of your enhancement shamans will be taking taking one for the team and crafting theirs, especially if they're the drum boys, which that's usually the thing that most guilds do. Strictly speaking, Prio, I think if you're not taking Leggings of Mortal Knight right away, this should go to your BM hunters. If you're gonna go rogues first on Lyn, because that's all they can wear, then you need to look at this for your BM hunters. I know it's leather, but the mail chest is absolute ass. It's even worse than looking at Starstalker, in my opinion. So BM, that's how I feel about this. Warriors, hopefully they're still crafting with what's their profession called? They do
Blacksmithing,
The blacksmith chest, yeah.
leatherworking.
Yeah, blacksmithing and leatherworking. So there's two good options. Maybe your hunter's a drummer and he wants to say, hey, I'll pass Lyn, I'll craft, because the leatherworking chest isn't bad overall. But I'm looking at this.
I think we're pushing our warriors to go blacksmithing, and if after blacksmithing they want to drop it after they get the chest and go GC, fine. But yeah, if you can be blacksmithing going into phase 5, it's great, because getting you off of BCT means we can give you a really big item in about oh, you can't drop blacksmithing? I think you can. I'm not sure. I think you can.
No, you can't.
You can't?
have to keep it.
Okay.
In the chest.
You gotta keep it.
No, you keep
All
it.
right. But we're giving you Clutch of Demise second, so whatever.
I think the big question on this item is, where do you put your Feral Druid on this? Keeping in mind also, as I say again, similar to the legs, if you take Bladed Chaos Tunic as a Feral Druid, you're griefing. But Harness of Carnal Instinct is straight BIS, and it's BIS by a lot, and you're probably never giving your Feral Druid legs. So do they get reasonable prio on this? Do they get early prio on this, or are you trying to push them back for DPS?
I actually have been going back and forth on Jordy with this stuff for a while now, and always telling him the sheet's too soon. I need to look more into it, but as of this morning, I even said, like, I want to go ferals with BMs. I want it to be an equal prio. Depending on what drops, depending on who the pumper is and who's carrying the raid. I think you look at going ferals with BMs on this piece.
And a lot of that's also going to depend on
some angry people in chat right now about this.
I mean, a lot of that's also going to depend on what tank walls you're hitting, right? If you're in a guild where your tanks are dying all the time, where you're having tank issues surviving, where maybe your healers are under serious pressure and they really want their tanks to gear up a little bit, you probably push the tanks a little higher on this. If you're in a guild where you're easily clearing and you just want to start pushing your clear times higher and getting stuff down quicker and faster, maybe you push your DPS higher on this.
It's exactly that. What's going to end the night quicker, right? I know that sounds weird, but that's usually how you should look to prior loot. What's going to get through the night quicker? And if you're wiping because your tanks are under geared, then you need to look into that.
Okay. I think that this is another one of those items that we definitely could have turned red and said, give it to player over class. If you see at the top of the sheet, it's impossible to scroll away from it. It says player over class trumps every decision. Please remember that when you're giving loot out. Big ass item. So, yeah. All right. Shadowed Gauntlets of Paroxysm. Paroxysm. It swaps with Gloves of the Forest Drifter. These Shadow Gauntlets are not great. So you swap them with the Pharaoh Gloves, and Pharaoh loves them. So there you go. Done. Easy. There's not a whole lot of where are they? Not a whole lot of things to say about this item. What do you think about?
Yeah, I mean, leather haste.
What do rogues use?
They're gonna craft.
Oh, they craft. Okay, yeah. There's the leatherworking crafted gloves, which are very, very good, which are only a little bit worse than Thalassian. So, stuff like these Shadow Gauntlets aren't great. All right, we're gonna try to speed up because Handz, I can tell, is dying. Vicious Hawkstrider Halberg. It's that's aforementioned shitty hunter chest that isn't very good whatsoever.
Yeah, it sucks. It's sad.
Skip this mail pieces, the mail chest.
That's what we're
I
doing
think
right
that's
now.
what we're talking about. It's that bad. Derry doesn't even know about it.
No,
It
I'm
doesn't-
talking about the Serene Shores, Crashing Shores.
Ah,
Or in different order.
Oh. Sorry.
skip some healing.
Uh, No, I didn't. Oh, Serene Shores, Crashing Shores. Good call. Sorry.
I mean, this is easy. Just give it to your Ellie because your restos are probably leather, and they're probably wanting the leather.
Yes.
The leather one is just better.
Yes. Yes. So there you go. Give it to your Ellie. Which one does it swap with, I wonder? No, I'm not finding the right.
It's just these two, right? It's just Serene and Crashing.
No. It drops as the Ellie. Bummer. All right.
Oh, I see.
So it's, oh no, it drops as the healing one. Very cool. So you can give this to your Ellie shaman. He can use it for healing for a while, and then swap it to the Ellie one when he wants to. Great. This is shit.
It's. I mean, maybe you can make it work. I don't want to say it's complete shit, but it's complete shit beyond BCT.
War
It
Harness.
just has it's 0 crit on it. Like who itemized that? Like is int worth that much?
Yeah. War Harness of Reckless Fury. We're gonna go Rhett here, who aren't using blacksmithing chest, and then the warrior. It's pretty good. Brett probably want BCT also, but this item is just fine, and nobody else can use it, so you might as well give it to them. That's a lot of sockets, a lot of haste, a lot of crit, a lot of strength. Okay. Getting into Breastplate of Agony's Aversion, which is I think the swap for this.
That is the swap for that one.
Yeah.
And you're gonna load up the DPS first. It's just a pure tanky item, but it has some haste on it, which is nice for threat. But I mean, I would even consider just taking Reckless Fury as a threat tanking chest as well, because it's just a shit ton of armor stam.
Sure.
So
We went the Ret over the Prot Warrior. Anyways.
100% agree.
Yeah, there you go.
100% agree.
Gauntlets of the Soothed Soul. I think this just drops and it doesn't have a swap, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah,
there's only one person who can use this, right?
Holy,
So-
your single Holy Paladin. If it drops again, you're bummed. So there you go. Congratulations, you got the one drop you wanted, and then big grats, Holy Paladin. Again, the rings drop. Or no, we're going into Hero Adjudicators. This is the same thing as all the other Prot Paladin, Holy Paladin loot. We're going to give it to the Prot Paladin first, and then the Holy Paladin. The Holy Paladin will get the second pair. Yeah. Ring of Hardened Resolve.
It's a big chunky ring with a lot of block value.
Yes, it is.
This is one of the very, very, very few tanking items I've ever seen that is absolute BIS for druids and absolute BIS for Prot warriors.
It has the increased armor and the block value. That's interesting. Yeah. It's
Because the armor is amazing for druids, the expertise is amazing for druids. Obviously, the block value is amazing for Prot Paladin or Prot warriors. I would just say don't give this to your Prot Paladin. They're probably gonna ask for it. You shouldn't give it to them.
They're saying exclamation point skip, so they're not interested in this.
But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, most likely druid first, then probably, or vice versa, doesn't matter.
Ring of Omnipotence. Pretty good.
It's clearly omnipotence.
It's omnipotence. Omnipotence. This is one of those reward items similar to Band of Ruinous Delight, and you're just gonna give to anyone who doesn't have BT haste rings. It's a reward item. If you,
this is BIS for Warlocks, right? I believe this is BIS.
Yes,
for Warlocks.
it is. It is BIS for everybody, except
The
for
one thing is,
Shadowpriest should be
for
dead
mages,
last.
it's weird. Yeah, for mages should also be in contention for dead last. It's a weird item for mages. It's situationally BIS, but not by a huge amount. I would not take this as a mage over any other caster who it's like actually real BIS for.
Okay, good to know. So
Make a note.
Especially if you're giving your mages haste, or sorry, if you're giving your mages heroism. That's kind of a separate discussion. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if
After
you're
I
giving
get
your
a
mages heroism, this gets a lot.
yeah, well, let's just keep cooking with gas, and then we can talk about the last stuff. Now we're doing the PvP rings again. We go with whoever has the current highest arena rating.
Is any ring BIS or good for anybody that would be like, I don't know, hard up, like they're just really wanted? I don't know. They're just purely PvP rings, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just...
I think so. I think they're probably small upgrades for some people, but who cares? They're PvP rings, really. All right, next. Here we go. BNS.
All right, so I think this is clearly a reward item, right? Meaning you hand it to someone who put some work for the guild. But if you had a Fury Warrior, in my opinion, that, decent raider shows up, does his stuff, I think you hit them. I think we're asking a lot from our warriors this tier to pass on some bit, marginal upgrades. They're not always the time like BIS, like, oh, you're not getting Coif, you're getting Crown of Asterion, right? You're not getting this, you're going to use the plate piece. I think for all that, you look at getting a good Fury Warrior, an early BNS. We got one on the PTR, and we spent a lot of time testing it. It's going to be super nice for Cleave, for Warriors. They're going to be able to stack that thing up almost instantly. They're just going to fucking whirlwind, and it's going to be at 10 stacks, and they get full value out of that. You can make an argument that like, oh, a multi-shot gives you 3 and on it. I mean, Hunters will stack it quick, Enhancement Shamans will stack it quick. But if you're looking at like value of how quickly this thing can stack up, then I think you look at a warrior. And then the rogue one, the argument for the rogue is not to give the rogue first because they're going to be using their armor pen trinket. Later in the tier, when they get a lot of ARP, they're going to want it. But early on, you say thank you, warrior, for being so nice and not taking all these other BIS pieces that are 20 DPS upgrades over your plate piece. Here's a sliver.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that we know that Fury Warriors felt like they were a little bit marginalized in some of the earlier stuff, so this is kind of the olive branch, and it is really good for them. So we're happy to give it to them. We love our Fury Warriors as long as they're alive. So yeah, it's really good for everybody, most everybody. But I think it's most good for Fury Warriors.
I get a lot of. It seems like someone like thinks I'm like a hunter shill, but I'm really not. I'm just trying to get as much loot out as possible. And if I was playing Fury, I'd be like, just give me all the plate. I'll fucking be geared, out the ass very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have to fight over. I'm fighting with a Ret potentially, and I'm fighting over the arms with the arms warrior.
Okay, so moving on, I think everybody was pretty pleased with that answer because there's a lot of warriors in the chat who obviously
love loot,
care about loot,
right?
Yeah. Which Fury Warrior you're gonna give it to first, though? The next sliver is the healer one. It's much less exciting. It's not that great for anybody. If I had to pick somebody, I would say probably give it to your Resto Shaman. I would not give it to your druid. It's whatever. Like, yeah, it says 7.27 because it's based off of my haste. So there's a lot of fights where you could fit this in. I made a little write up in my Discord in the priest stuff channel about like times that I felt like I could probably weave this into. because you have to sit there and channel it in order to get the mana back. Fights that are over 5 minutes will be really good because you could use it in the first minute. I don't know. I don't know about this trinket. I think it's fine. I would rather see a shifting or a blackened. Let's just say that it does scale with haste. Yeah, the channeling goes down.
Would you really use this as a holy priest? Because you guys already have such strong trinket options.
I would use it on some fights. I would use it on Kil'Jaeden, and I would use it on Felmyst, and I would use it on Muru.
The answer is it's kind of situational.
It's very situational. What's up, Chris?
Largely that way for everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Shifting Nari Sliver. This is Caster Biss. Thanks, Crix. Love you too, man.
Yeah, so this,
Check the
Listen.
chat.
this is
Look,
gonna bring
Vandarr
up-
pre-wrote a whole fucking paragraph.
This is going to bring up the
Crix
most
tuned in right at the right time to rage
in
about
terms
this.
in terms of the ongoing blue versus purple that has been going on in most guilds and in most discords, including non-caster discords, since the beginning of time.
Didn't you guys say last week that if we're not giving you a Shadow Priest, we might as well just get rid of you?
Anyway, I very strongly believe that, obviously player matters a lot. I would not give this to a significantly weaker player over a significantly stronger player, essentially regardless of class, because it's a big item like that. But all else equal, I do think that this should be a mage prio item. A big part of that is also because in our guild, and it's something I push for a lot, anyone in the mage discord knows I've pushed for this a lot, mages should be dead last on Skull. And this is one of the compensating factors for that. Skull is not really a great mage trinket, and this is absolutely an insane mage trinket. Because of the cooldown lines up with your cooldowns perfectly. And so, as we've talked about before, you should still be running BT every single week. You're still going to have skulls coming in. It's going to be a huge feels bad if you give this to a different class and then you give a skull to a mage, because it's weird to give both to a same class back to back. And that's just not a loose situation you want to be in. There's other things as well in consideration. One of the big things in consideration is that mages use heroism extremely poorly once they get, halfway into Sunwell. Once they're getting a significant number of Sunwell pieces, you should be probably taking away your mage's heroism or putting them in a healer group or some situation like that, deep into Sunwell. And that will make this haste much better. And it'll also, one of the compensating factors for warlocks is that extra haste is probably going to a warlock group. But yeah, this I believe pretty strongly this should be a mage item. How you give it after that will largely, how you value support classes versus warlocks, how do you value players in your different slots, whatever. But I do think that mages should have prio on this item.
Yeah, Crix, I think that Crix is saying if he gets Lust, then this can go to mages and he'd be happy. And I think that is the idea. It seems like a good trade-off.
But how many mages do they have to get the trinket before they give up their lust?
It's like that first mage gets
It's more about how much haste your mages have. So there's basically this level, you reach a level of haste where the reason why lust is good with mages right now is because mages have some of the strongest cooldowns in the game.
I just got 6 clips added to this stream, by the way.
Stacking lust with mage cooldowns is very strong. But you reach a lust threshold where Icy Veins is just as good as heroism. So you just stack Icy Veins with all your cooldowns instead of lust, and you're fine. In which case, lust is just it's just extra hate.
It goes to better classes. So that brings up a good point, though. Wouldn't you want to give that extra lust you now have to your hunter group?
Whoa. No.
I mean, one of the reasons you don't want to do it, right, is because your hunter group is also probably your warrior group. And they can't really take advantage of more than 2 lusts on most fights because they want to stack lust with their cooldowns. And actually, kind of similar to mages, the lust is much less impressive if you're not stacking it with your cooldowns. And warlocks don't have this issue. Warlocks don't have cooldowns, so lust is just always good value on them. So that's why when you start talking about triple lusting groups, it's probably done best in a warlock group.
We'll
I
have
think
to see.
we'll give it to the healers.
Yeah. On yeah, sure.
There are fight like Eredar Twins. If you give 2 to the healers, I promise you'll win. Okay.
I mean, in some comp, if you have a comp where you actually have a hunter group, like 3 or 4 hunters in a group, maybe you consider giving it to that instead of warlocks. But if you're like most guilds where your hunter group also has a couple warriors in it, also has maybe a rogue in it or something, it doesn't really make sense to give them more lust so they can't stack with their cooldowns.
Yeah, but there are a lot of guilds that run like 4 hunters, right? Like, I know we don't, right? We get the warriors involved, we get rogues involved. There's a lot of guilds that really value boss damage and parsing on bosses, and you know, stack hunters for that situation, right? So I think it depends. I mean, I'm not going to actually, you know, if that's something the mages work out with the warlocks, I'm probably not going to come in unless it's like a speed kill scenario to say, you know, let's back this up and let's talk about giving that lust to the hunters. But you know that does make sense.
Yeah, and it obviously depends a lot on your guild too and your players. If you're all your best players are warriors, give it to the warriors. You know, if all your best players are hunters, figure out a way to give them more resources. But for the average guild running relatively balanced comps like we do, you probably want to give a third. You probably want to double lust your pumper physical group and triple lust your warlock group.
Yeah, it even gets more imbalanced on some of these items though, depending on what you run, right? If you run a lot of hunters, right, you can't. Not all your hunters can take Lin, you know. That's not going to be viable, you know. Yeah, you're going
to put out. We run largely the same comp across all of our things, so our loot list I think is roughly built around the assumption that that's kind of the comp you want, and that's how we balance stuff out. If you run a very different comp than us, our loot prior is probably not going to work well for you.
You should probably post our comp with the list too, Jordy, at some point. Just kind of how we set it up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to move on. Stealing Nari Sliver. Dtain.
Boring. It's just a weird trinket, right? Like, so it's halfway in between a threat and it's just a defensive cooldown. It's not best case scenario. You'll probably just give it to hold an expertise gap until you get other gear, and that's all I'll say about that.
Did I recently read or hear that the health that you get from it isn't like, it doesn't heal you, it just gives you like more max health, you know what I mean? It doesn't increase your min health.
Oh, it's not like life-giving gem?
Yeah, like I don't know if that's true, but it's just like, oh, here's more max health.
We had one drop, didn't we? I can't remember.
We didn't have one drop, or did we? No, we might have. I'll check it out later.
Tomorrow. I'd be surprised if that were a fact.
Yeah, it is tomorrow.
Someone said that might not be true. Someone said in chat, yes, that's what it does.
It's better if it gives you health. It's worse if it doesn't.
It's pretty bad overall.
All right. Muramasa, damn, that looks cool as shit. All right. This is a cool sword. I remember seeing this sword as a kid and being like, wow, this is a cool sword. Turns out it's like
glaives.
It's whatever.
Yeah, warriors have a lot of options for offhands and, you know, main hands throughout this tier. Obviously the Kil'Jaeden fist is just gonna be bis, you know, just pure damage wise. I think gets you very far. I haven't looked into the sword spec build with some of this stuff. You know, we've been talking about it, but I haven't like simmed all those numbers. You're probably pretty much the only guys who are gonna want this. The rogues will want it for a main hand. It's not gonna be super contested. Hopefully, you see a lot of them. You know, it is a weapon, so that you know, it usually tends to have a lower drop rate. But yeah, it's all right. You know, warriors have a lot of options. You have the mounting vengeance. You have that fist we looked at earlier, and you have Muramasa.
Yeah, it looks cool. All right, Aegis of Angelic Fortune. I think I said shaman first, because the shamans are more than likely the ones that are going to get aggro than the paladins because of their way higher HPS, so the extra armor and stuff will help.
A paladin can use that haste offhand pretty darn well.
Sure.
But as a shaman, you're terrified to use an unmover.
Sure.
So
I said shaman over paladin. Yes. Okay, on to the big dude, and then we're done. Cloak of Unforgivable Sin.
So this is that item that shares across every physical DPS class, regardless of, you know, anything else. You're all looking for a Cloak of Unforgivable Sin in your BIS list. I like I like the idea of slapping it over to the Ret Paladin, who's getting absolutely nothing, who gets decent scaling off haste, right? So would I give it to every Ret Paladin? No. I mean, maybe give it to someone who hasn't received a piece of loot in a while. It's a super contested but like low fun, low excitement piece, right? It drops, it's great. It's a huge DPS increase across like every class that can wear it. Like all physical are gonna take, get big DPS out of it. But we're asking a lot of the Rets not to take anything else, so that's where we're thinking that we might prio this item.
Yeah, I think that everyone wants it. So let's see.
Yeah, some
across
Rets
the board, where are Rets getting prio? Do you see any light pink at the beginning of this thing? No. So I mean, you get one thing down the line and then a cloak. So I mean that seems fair.
And it's like no one really cares about Reckless Fury and the last year Ranger Gauntlets. It's like you're telling Rets basically you don't have to spend 2,000 gold.
Yeah. Okay. Tower Cave of Antonidas.
I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go with this, but it's one of those items that just every single caster wants, and so I think you should just go at however you feel like your guild wants to go. You can use this to reward people who didn't have as good of prio in the last tier. You can use this as straight pumper prio. You can use this as, if you have a speed run group or whatever, you can give it to them. But this is really one of those items, just give it to casters however you feel like your guild wants to give it to casters. I don't think there's a huge difference.
I think we said if you have Shroud, you get it last. We prioed the healer Shroud Cloak from Illidan to mages and then some warlocks. So if you have that, you're probably not getting this early.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. As I said, I think different guilds will value this different ways, and I think pretty much any reasonable way of giving out this item is probably fine.
Where did we said Shadow Priest first. It was really good. They probably didn't have the BT cloak, so we're gonna go them. Seems like a good balance. Cowl of Light's Purity. This is another one that Holy Priests get for free because the mages version, the Helm of Arcane Purity, they're not going to wear because they're wearing tier 5 still. So congratulations, Holy Priests, you get a really easy pickup. I think that Shadow Priests might want it too. But you give it to your Holy Priest first. They don't get a lot of prio, so we're going to give it to them. Yeah, I'm turning the looks off of this right away. I don't even wear my helm now. So, yeah. It's funny, it goes from like a really face covering helm to whatever. You guys don't care. All right. Again, our Helm of Arcane Purity, nobody wants this, so you give it to your Shadow Priest, and then you give this to your Holy Priest, and then the Helm of Arcane Purity to your Shadow Priest. This is an item that swaps, so... this is also Resto Druid Bis, but you're gonna go to your Holy Priest first. Okay. And then because of that, this happens. Theory.
Yeah. So then this is basically the swap, right? Where your mages and your Holy Priest want the gloves, and so you're probably, to compensate for the helm, you're giving your mages the gloves first, and your Holy Priest second. This is a pretty big upgrade for mages. It's really well itemized for mages, so it's a nice piece for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, priests definitely want it, but I skipped shoulders. Which shoulders? I don't think I skipped shoulders.
Skips conjures.
Dark Conjurer's Collar. Sorry, okay, I'll go back to it in a second. It was just kind of linked to the logic of it, is what I meant. So yeah, we're gonna go mage here first on these, then the Holy Priest. Again, you could go Resto Druid eventually on these, but give it to your Holy Priest before your Resto Druid. All right, Dark Conjurer's Collar. This is one of those items that also Warlocks really want, mages don't want, Shadow Priests want, and Boomkin want. For Warlocks, I know that you either want this and tier 6 shoulders, or tier 6 helm and the other shoulders from Eredar Twins. So you need to make a decision where you're going with these, and that's your set. You're getting the shoulders, or you're getting the helm, and then the tier 6 is the alternative. There's not a huge delta between the difference. I think pure Bis is this, right, and tier 6 shoulders, but it doesn't really matter. You're just gonna get whatever you get, and you're gonna be happy. I honestly would prefer the tier 6 helm over this, just for pure fashion. Sorry. And then otherwise,
most of your support classes also want this, so
yes, also that.
fit them in however you want to fit them in.
So I dropped something.
This is another piece that will be one of those, maybe you balance out loot with this. Someone who's gotten really unlucky, you can give this to them. Maybe you're trying to balance out tier pieces in order to let people move pieces around.
Yeah.
A lot of those things, these pieces, you should be flexible, a little bit flexible, right? You should work it so that people are getting big upgrades as early as possible.
Yeah. So we're saying we go Warlock over Balance / Shadow Priest, but honestly, it could be equal across the board, especially with those shoulders being in the calculations. I mean, it's very good for everybody. So, yeah. Anything else, Vandarr?
No,
It's not working. I'm sorry, Vandarr. It's really rough.
Poor guy.
I'm just gonna. It just sounds like he's like in the wires of the Matrix, like being transferred from one side of it to the other. All right. Hands of Defiled Worlds. This is definitely Warlock Bis.
Straight Warlock. I think this is one of those pieces that you should pretty much give it to straight Warlocks. Some of your other support classes are going to want this as well, but I think it's pretty reasonable to just give this to Warlocks and then figure it out later.
Yeah, we're doing Warlocks and then Shadow Priest last. You're going to have 3 or 4 Warlocks you're going to give this to first, so once that's out of the way, you can kind of decide where it goes. Okay, Duplicitous Guise and Mask of the Fury Hunter. I'm gonna reload so the tooltips are bigger. I don't know why it does that when I log in.
So
Are you in bed?
no, I'm not in bed.
You should.
So with this one, I mean, it's pretty easy. It's Feral Druid and it's Rogue, right? Who you give it to first, I don't know. Rets are very close, coming in second for this. After those two. Right, but Rets have other options, so it's not like Rets have to get this. I will say that if Rets don't get this, then you have to look at giving Rets some hit items, I believe. And JBJ can correct me, but I think that's what we're talking about. Is Duplicitous Guise is like, you have the hit on it that satisfies the Ret requirement for hit. They don't need to find hit in other places. They drop any dream of getting Leggings of Immortal Knight, and they go from there. But easy one for the rogues. Originally we thought about doing something where we prioed Enhance last on Coif and last on this, essentially saying, Enhancement Shamans you'll use either, so take it whenever, take it when you can get it. But I think we changed that, and I think we'll get into that.
Yeah. It just looks really sad, but whatever.
Yeah, if you run rogues, you got to really just, they don't have another option. Maybe you can consider a Ret before a rogue. Rogues being high on Leggings of Immortal Knight Prio. They can't have every piece of gear, so you have a rogue that gets Leggings of Immortal Knight. The raid's in Disgust, but it is what it is. You brought that guy for some reason, and
one thing to keep in mind, I think we saw 2 of the same helm drop off of Kil'Jaeden one time. Right?
I think that is true. Yeah, we saw a lot of that. We saw 2 Band of Ruinous Lights.
Yeah. So there's some fucky shit happening with the loot tables. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you'll just get 2 coifs. I don't know what the reason was you read it. It's just you've seen 4 Thoradals, Jay. Yeah.
I'll also say, I don't know how good the engineering goggles are for every class. Engineering goggles are pretty reasonable for feral druids. So
yeah,
if that's not an option for rogues, or that's something to consider if you have a lot of engineers, because for a lot of classes, engineering goggles are going to be second bis, small downgrades over these items.
No, that's for sure to keep in consideration.
Okay. After that, we're on cover of Ursal the Wise and cover of Ursoc the Mighty. This is one of those things that you're going to be sad when it drops. Vandarr says, Boomkin, dog shit helm. Hope it doesn't drop. Go goggles till something nice comes along. So give it to your Resto Shaman.
Or your Boomkin. Are you Resto Shaman?
Resto Druid first, and then your Boomkin, I guess. But it sucks.
Is it their Biss, or is it just like their... I don't know what Boomkin Biss looks
No,
like.
the Biss is the cloth one, or for the Resto Druids. The Biss for the Boomkin is the also the cloth one, Dark Conjurer's Collar.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay. Coif of Valeria.
I think you look at who doesn't have a Seaboss, who should have had a Seaboss, and hit them first, right? Out of your male wearers, I think if you're rocking a Shaman without a Seaboss, you hit them up. If not, and depending on where the other loot went, I'd probably if you're giving BCT over to your hunter, you're asking your Shamans to craft the chest. I'd do Enhancement Shaman first. At a just pure DPS standpoint, I'd probably hit my BM hunters. But as far as getting loot around, to other people,
Survival could be good on this.
Yeah, survival's not getting a whole bunch. Yep. We run two hunters per raid usually, so it's like one of those things where it could go to either hunter or the shamans. But I like saying enhancement shaman probably equal to BM, equal to survival in this piece. Find out who hasn't got a piece of loot out of Sunwell yet and hit them with that.
Yeah.
It's not wrong to give it to anyone. Where I feel like BCT giving it to someone who is a leather worker feels bad.
Yeah, and a lot of our BMs have Seaboss already, so it would make sense to go to survival. But player per class. So all right, Cowl of Gul'dan and Shroud of the Chieftain Ner'zhul. These are actually pretty insane for both of these. We're going Resto Shaman first on this. I think Ellie had a lot more Prio than we intended by the time we got to the end of it, so we're going Resto on this helm first. Let's see, does it drop? The healing one drops, so you could give it to your Ellie if you wanted to, and he could use it for healing for a few weeks and then swap it eventually to the Ellie one.
No, I think this is the other way around. The LA one drops.
You are correct. The LA one drops, so I lied. Don't do that. But yeah, we're going Resto here. Congratulations, Resto. I like the way these male helms look. They're like Romanesque with the horns, and I don't know, I like it. The Thalassian Ranger gauntlets. The probably the most underwhelming big item on here, because the leatherworking gloves exist, right?
Yeah, so the where you want to look at these is you're not gonna get big items. You're gonna want to get to as reasonably close to your armor pen cap, or you're fighting a high armor boss. You'd want one of these. That being said, rets aren't getting a lot. These are best ret gloves. You can save them like 2,000 gold and say, hey, you get these first if you don't want to craft. In our guild, I'm gonna, pretty much look for anyone who wants these gloves. Show me that you went out of your way and crafted leatherworking gloves first, or I'm probably not really consider them that. I would probably give this over to someone who just says I'm not crafting leather gloves. I'm waiting for that. But the right answer is craft your leatherworking gloves, and if you get this, cool. If not, it's no big deal.
Cool. These seem really good just looking at them, but
no, they're great.
The fact that the leatherworking ones exist make them, some of people are saying that these are really good for
the high level
survival.
of agi. No, for sure. High level of agi, you might want to consider going your survival hunter just before anybody else. They're not up for a lot, right? So yeah, maybe that would be a good edit to the sheet. I didn't even consider that, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe I can
survival over. I was talking to JBJ earlier about it, and I was like, dude, I need to give Rhett something Prio, and he's like, we really don't want the gloves. Like, we'll just craft leatherworking gloves. I think everyone's in that same boat. Like, I'll just craft leatherworking gloves.
Yeah, cool. So maybe that's something we can edit on there.
Often overlooked survival hunters and arms warriors.
Poor guys. Helmet Burning Righteousness, again, falling into that same category of we are gearing our paladins over our holy paladins, because holy paladins are fine and aren't the most contributory raid member, even though we do need them, but the prop paladins are kind of the tip of the spear, so we're going to give them the the helm first and then prop pounds. You only want 2 of these again. You're only bringing 1 of each, so whatever.
I think Holy Paladins are going to surprise you on some of the tank healing. Like just the amount of...
Holy Paladins are prioed for the crown jewel of the tier. I don't want to get that twisted.
Okay.
Like they are getting the best healer item of the entire phase, but as such, they're getting low prio on a lot of the other random pieces.
And prop pallies lose their luster. I feel like they've, there's some fights that's great, but I feel like they lose their luster. I don't know. You did this. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying it's just, I love Holy
think
Paladins.
I really want to go to a 2 tank setup in the long term, and
then you need a good prot. You need a super beefy prot.
That's what I'm saying. And so
that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Crown of Anasterian.
That's just you just chuck that over your arms of Fury Warrior. Either one, whoever hasn't gotten a lot of loot, hit them up. We're gonna ask our Furies not to think too highly of Coif of Valyria, because you have a very similar plate option. And we're gonna ask you to take that, but like I said, I think BNS should be a high priority Furies.
Yeah, we're doing Warrior over Ret, because Ret probably want duplicitous guys, but they might get this eventually.
So Rets have 3 options of helms, and the thing is they really need the guys because of the hit. So I think they're probably going to wait for guys, but if they could get one of these 3 helms because they're about to rot, then it's not a bad item for them.
Yeah. I mean, if you get 3 in a row, give 1 to your Ret. You know what I mean? Okay. Crown of Dothramar.
You're probably just gonna use Engineering Helm as prod, and you're gonna want your DPS warriors to get the or Reds to get the other helm. So
yeah,
bit of a pass on that.
Sure. Okay. Borderland Pain Grips seems good.
Yeah. Probably gonna craft your leatherworking and these drop, and you sim it, and they're better. Then you go with that. I think we're in this phase of WoW too, where there's enough variables that the right answer a lot of these times on what is BIS is to sim it, because depending on your other stats, it changes, right? And depending on the encounter, it changes. So I'm not gonna go on a limb and say warriors are gonna love these, but I think the Lassian is the WoW head BIS setup that's probably gonna go out. But these are these are great.
These also don't swap with anything, so they're just a random drop. Yep. There's no sun mode exchange.
Yeah, and really with the crafted leatherworking gloves, when you see a pair of gloves, you're pretty much great. Give to somebody.
Okay. Thor at all the stars Fury. We're gonna go rogue on this. It's really good for them.
So we run 6 raids, and like we did with Warglaives, where we split them up between each class that could use Warglaives. I think it would make sense to split up Thoradol between each class that can use Thoradol. So
two hunters, 2 rogues, 2 warriors. Yeah. But I think that it's probably best for rogue. They don't want to use they don't want to have those arrows in their bags, so this is a really good way to get those arrows out of there. I'm just kidding. It's going hunters. It's only
I don't know.
It's only hunters.
I don't know what to tell you. BM's probably gonna get the biggest. I don't even know. I don't know the delta, right? Survival scales so well this tier with armor pen and agility.
I mean, this is clearly just a player item.
Yeah.
Who cares shit about BM versus survival? You give it to the player you want to give it to.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Thank you, Diri.
It's your
trying to get us out of here.
Play over class hunter item. If you had to pick after, both hunters or all 3 hunters get it. Congratulations, you have a...
If I have this survival that's just pure Chad, doesn't bitch about anything, and it's going to happen in our guild, that I'm going to be you didn't say a fucking word about anything, you played survival, Scorpion staying uptime was great, we're at the end of the tier, you're getting through it all. Sure.
Get that Scorpion sting uptime going.
Exactly.
All right. Crux of the Apocalypse.
That's I think that's gonna be a hunter item. The trash weapon is really good too. So it's like,
I got this on Kil'Jaeden last night on my hunter.
yeah, it's situational, right? Like it's the haste rating. It's on ARP. You need, you hit that ARP threshold. It's still a really good item when you're like below that. You're probably gonna have to sim it is the best answer, but there's no one else who wants it. Give it to a hunter.
Yeah, cool. Apollyon. I think we're going ret equals arms here.
I thought we just changed that.
Did we?
Yeah, because you have Waddle K, Wrath of Lich King. You're gonna want your Furies to have 2 nice 2-handers
Right.
for Titan's Grip.
So arms get
So
all the
2.
Furies.
Arms get
All the-
2,
yeah.
and then the ret gets 1.
Exactly.
That will be really
Right,
good. Really good. That'll be really good for leveling.
Is this even unique? I don't think it's unique, is it?
It's not, dude.
It's
I'm
not.
getting
Yeah.
getting to
There
it.
you go.
Yeah. Actually, it's arms gets 2, and then your hunter gets 1 for weaving, and then
No, all right.
Yeah.
It just arms warrior ret about equal prio. You can't really make a case for one or the other. I
Yeah.
mean,
it looks cool as shit. So yeah.
Yep.
Hammer of Sanctification. We're gonna go paladin on this. It's really fucking good. It's definitely better than the Illidan mace. Your paladin likely doesn't have Illidan mace if you were paying attention. So give this to them. Then I would go shaman because of the staff that we're about to get to for the healers. So yeah. Hand of the Deceiver. Cool as shit. This is a cool item. It's got 2 sockets. It's enhancement shaman, main hand bis. It's hunter bis. It's warrior without glaive bis. It's
like I said, yeah, I said that, there's like things you just don't give to classes, and there's no way you give this to a hunter, right? You don't give this to a hunter over, and it's like Storm Rage Signet Ring. Like if anyone gave that to a hunter over other classes, like I feel bad. Like I don't know what you were reading, but that was a game bis ring that I see hunters running around with.
Yeah, you'll likely run Crux and like a trash offhand or something as a hunter, but strictly
there's a lot of options for hunters, and I think the right answer is Simmet. I think the trash weapon, like the polearm, I think that's really great. You're gonna have a lot of options as a hunter, but this should be off your wish list.
Yeah. It's really good. It's really good. All right.
You just basically letting people player prior it.
Let's see how we ended up doing it.
Because warrior, I mean, there's a question of like, how do you?
We did enhance first.
So it's gonna be tough, right? Because I mean, we just saw another glaive, right? I'm not saying like all our Furies are gonna get glaives, but we're going to be going to BT every week until Wrath. If Sunwell pops out and it's like all our warriors have like a main hand or an off hand, then it's like, let's just try to complete those glaives. But yeah, it is a factor, right? Like there has to be a factor that your best weapons are in Black Temple. Let's go get them and give this to the shaman. There, you got shaman who've re-rolled from warrior to like help carry the raids and stuff. This is the end of the game. Like nobody cares anymore. We're about to like throw this gear away. Yeah. I would, I'm thinking you definitely go shaman first.
Yeah.
And you have 2 shaman, right? And you might run 1 fury, so it's go shaman, warrior, shaman, right? And if you're a warrior that is getting this because you weren't up for glaives, then you got to ask yourself, why weren't you up for glaives?
Okay, Sunflare, Caster Bis.
There's because this is bis for everyone, right? So there's basically 2 ways of thinking about this. You give this to your best players, or you give this to the people who took TOC and took that hit for the guild in the previous phase.
Yeah, we're giving.
You just choose which one you want to do as your guild, and you commit to it.
Yeah, we I think as a guild are giving mostly to TOC users first. A lot of the time, our raiders are just good across the board, and so not all the time, but a lot of the time. And so if you have TOC, you didn't get Zardoom, congratulations, you're very likely getting this first. Yeah.
But I don't think it's unreasonable, depending on how your guild values things, or how you planned out loot. Hopefully your loot plan extended past one phase, right, going into tier 6, because
Yeah.
these things are
If you're in ATS jail, that sucks, and you should get Sunflare.
well, that's your own fault, because there are plenty of upgrades you could have gone for free. But yeah, if you want to give this to people who have ZD because you think they're your best players, and you gave them ZD because they're your best players, and you want to give them Sunflare because they're also your best players, that's also reasonable. I wouldn't say anything against that, but it's just, how did your guild value things? How do you want to reward people?
Sure. Cool.
There's no wrong answer for Sunflare. Is that what you're saying?
I think
Yeah, I honestly don't think there is. Unless it's to giving it to your worst players who you decided to give ZD to. But that's,
Then why'd
unlikely.
you give him ZD? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
okay. Golden Staff of Cinderai. We're gonna go Druids first, and then the Holy Priests. This is the only healing weapon with Spirit on it in the tier, and the hammer doesn't have Spirit, so it makes more sense for it to go to Shamans and Paladins, who don't get as much value out of Spirit as the Priests and Druids do. So we're gonna go Druids first because the Priests have a really good Illidan Mace likely, and that bonus, the equip bonus from it, is much more effective on the Priest than it is for the Druid. So give it to your Druid, then your Priest. Yeah. Okay, we're done with Kil'Jaeden. We're gonna just fly through trash drops.
I mean, what are the actual contested items here, right? Like, a lot of these are not contested at all. They don't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the ones that people actually care about?
Go to
The-
trash.
This is it's enhancement bis offhand, so we're gonna go them. Shivering Fellspine is survival bis.
Yeah, I'm thinking that survival.
Mountain
Yeah,
Gun is another one of those. I don't have glaives. I'd like this as a warrior weapon.
yeah,
Sure.
for sure. Yeah,
But you probably still give it to your enhancers over that.
yeah. But this is all trash farmable. So if like we say something that upsets you, fucking join a pug and farm it.
Yeah.
And I actually don't know if that's true. Maybe it does drop later in the instance, but good chance that this stuff is just go in and get it, farm it.
Yeah, we're gonna farm the
the-
shit out of trash. So
The rarest stuff we've seen is any of the blacksmithing, jewel crafting, those patterns. I feel like we didn't see a lot of those.
we actually got two, or no, we got this and this in one clear, our last clear. So,
Yep.
And the last thing I will say is Demon Souls, is one of those mage warlock fighting over items. You can kind of go any way you want. It's like, it's a wand. Like, wands are just never huge items. I think we decided to go warlocks, but it really doesn't matter. You can go whatever way you want with this item.
What was the
we
one?
said warlocks. It's a very tiny upgrade for mages, so we're giving this to warlocks and then shadow
I mean,
priests.
it's still a decent sized mage upgrade, but it's just like wands just don't inherently have the same value that other slots do.
Well, warlocks aren't getting shifting Nari Slower, so you can deal with waiting. Priest wand. This I think is a good Fury Warrior weapon.
No, it definitely will be.
Yeah.
Right? There's like I said, there's a lot of options, and my recommendation would be to sim it. And there's gonna be deltas and things to consider. This one has ARP on it, right? So that might change things. Oh, you're talking about the throne weapon. I thought you were talking about melting vengeance. I'm sorry.
No, we already talked about
Yeah,
that.
I mean, yeah, that could be. This could be an option, right? If you're not up for Golden Sindorai, and the ARP, you don't need the ARP off the ZA bow, then yeah, this
Mhm.
could be an option.
The other gloves are pretty boring. Resto Druid and Boomkin. I think we went Resto Druid on these because the Boomkin are likely using their tier. Ellie Shaman and Resto Shaman gloves. I think the Resto Shaman have.
Everyone's using crafted.
Yeah,
gloves.
there's crafted gloves across the
Doesn't
board,
matter.
so none of this really matters. Give it to whoever wants it. Don't dock Prio. Otherwise, yeah, sun drenched.
I think the slightly more interesting things are going to be these patterns, but they're either BOE items or BOE patterns, right? So you can also just, make a guild bank commitment or have your rich people go buy them, and that's simple
Yeah.
enough.
Sure.
They're going to be. Expensive as
We're
hell
gonna
if you want.
be farming these a lot. I'm not going Alchemist. Probably no rats. Careers of Sun and Shadow. Your Enhancement Shaman should be going. Any of your hunters who are leatherworking should be going this. What are the other important ones? Hardcore and Band. You're gonna want one of these if you're. You could just.
Yeah, make them. So,
it should-
and that's a weird item. Like, not everyone's gonna want it right away, but later in the phase, you'll see more people that want that.
Yeah, Hardcorium Choker. It's a BOP item, so it's only one pattern per item. So you're gonna have to loot council that. Give it to your jewel crafters, whoever they are. Figure that out. And then there's the NG goggles, which you can take into account. There's some caster items. Pendant of the Sunfire is really good if you're jewel crafting. Ring of Flowing Life is BIS for healers, so everybody's gonna want one of those, but it's BOE, so who gives a shit? It is 5 sun motes, but you gotta go farm them. There's a lot of tailoring. Chest is really good for healers. Gloves are really good. All that stuff. So each of these has like little prios in the spreadsheet, which I'm gonna post in the video tomorrow. But let's just wrap it up. I want to thank everybody for being here. Diri, Handz, Dtain, JBJ, Vandarr. Thank you guys. This was a lot. This was shorter than the last one, but
I think there were less bosses.
There were less bosses, yeah.
There's a lot less, but a lot of the loot last time was like dog shit. But we said something about it. But I think all the loot at Sunwell is good. I think you have to leave them. Take away from this is like something might be a 10 delta or 10 to 20 DPS delta from you, and it might be a 70, 80 DPS delta from somebody else because they don't have another option. And that's kind of our philosophy this tier, right? It's not. There's no really hard item I feel needs to go any one way. So.
Yeah.
You also say if you've cleared Sunwell, you get showered in loot compared to the number of bosses you kill. And a lot of the upgrades are just like there's a couple chase pieces, but beyond that, a lot of it's just like these are all upgrades for everyone. Just like it's not
Just
hard
put
to
it on.
give it out.
Yep.
Like it's not that big of a deal.
This should be the easiest loot tier of TBC, to be honest.
Yeah, there's like 3, maybe 4 items that are like super heavily contested, but besides those, it's just like give upgrades to people. You'll work it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fill in the gaps wherever you have them.
Again, thank you guys for being here. I think he means easiest for loot, not easiest in difficulty of killing bosses. This is definitely the hardest tier to kill anything.
I'm getting a lot of hate. So yeah. I mean, hey, if I could wear plate, I would. Yeah.
Again, the sheet's not perfect. Our opinions are not perfect. We did our best across the board. We got a lot of input from everybody. It's not perfect. Please don't flame us. We're trying our best. I know that the sheet linked. I'll post it in the thing. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. And a special thanks to Handz and Diri and Dtain and Vandarr and JBJ. Thank you guys. All right, I'm gonna upload this tonight. I'll post it in the morning around 8 a.m. Pacific. So if you subscribe to the YouTube, you'll see it there. And thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.